아 잠깐. 제시카 외동딸 일리노이 시카고 과선배는 김치모 그는 네 사촌.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Film Bros Podcast. My name is Isaiah Lucas, and I am joined by my co-hosts.
Abraham
and Nick.
Wow, you cut me off a little bit there.
I wound up too early. Had to get it out of there.
I'm good.
How you guys doing?
Good.
Doing really good, man.
Good.
How about you?
I'm doing really well as well. Anytime I finish this movie, I feel like the first time we walked out of it at the theater, like it's just a great film. And when I walk away from it, I'm just like, oh, dude, it's so smart. It's so good. I love it.
Yeah.
But, yeah. How was your guys' day?
Mine was really relaxed.
Oh, you had it off, didn't you?
I had today off.
I called in.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh, I should have.
So I told you. I tried to convince you last night.
I know. He's about to give me $200 to stay.
And he said, if you pay me my wages for today, I will call off. I said, I will Venmo you that money right now.
That amount?
Yes.
That's fine.
And he said no.
I didn't do it.
I was willing to pay your wages for the day. But I would
See, that's true friendship. And then I didn't value myself highly enough.
And I would have just had you hang out with me all day.
That would have been cool. I would have watched this again with you today.
Again.
Because it's worth. I would watch this.
I would
more
watch
than
it again
once.
right after this.
Oh yeah, I would too.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure we'll notice more things.
Yeah, this is the third time I've rewatched the movie that we're talking about today. And there's even stuff that like I noticed for the first time, like little bits of dialogue where I'm like, dude, like it makes so much sense.
Yeah, we watched it together today, and he pointed out some things that like I didn't catch, because this is only my second time watching it, because I, like you guys, I've been wanting to hold back on watching this movie. And so he would mention things, and I was like, bro, that's smart. Bro,
Yeah.
what? And I would notice things like the lights.
Yeah.
Knowing after it, I'm just like,
Oh,
oh gosh, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just, it was so good.
It's
so good to watch it. I watched it with my brother. My brother loved it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
This
He liked
movie is
It's easy to love.
It's easy to love on the first watch, and then when you rewatch it, you're like,
You gotta
dude,
love
I'm
it even
in.
more.
Like I'm in on it, and I can appreciate it even more for the fact that that I know everything.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah,
it.
the first time you watch it, they emphasize things. And You're
Yeah.
just like, okay, I'm getting it. And then you watch it a second time, and it's so much more rewarding because you're
Yeah.
like, oh, it all makes so much more sense now.
Yeah.
Like, I get why those lights are flashing like that.
Yeah.
It's not automatic and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So it's very rewarding.
Yeah, I really enjoy this film, and I'm excited to talk about it.
Yeah.
And Abe, this was your pick. So
Yeah.
what movie are we talking about today?
This is my pick, and I chose the 2019 film Parasite, directed by Bong Joon Ho. It was written by Jin-Won and also Bong Joon Ho
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah, and we'll make a little disclaimer here, before going into this. This is a foreign film. It's a film that is shot in Korean.
Yep.
And, we're dumb Americans. We
Cannot
can
pronounce
only
it.
speak English. Other than Abraham here, he can speak English and Spanish. So
Sí, claro que sí.
exactly. So we apologize if we pronounce people's names incorrectly or anything like that. We're going to try to do our best.
Yeah.
It's a
But,
guarantee we're going to get at
yeah.
least something wrong.
Yeah.
So
So we'll try to say, I guess, their names, their English names.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
or the names that are given to them in the film.
Yeah,
Yeah,
their
that's
character
it. Yeah.
names.
So, yeah. But what is this movie about?
So this movie is, it's about everything.
Yeah.
there's a lot that goes
This
on.
is not a specific movie. It's almost like Bong Joon Ho has his own genre.
I was
Yeah.
about to say, because what would
Definitely.
you, I don't know how I would put this, is because this is a comedy. This is a thriller. This is
It's kind of like a tragedy.
Yeah, I've heard Bong Joon Ho classify this movie as a tragicomedy.
Okay. I would agree with that.
comedy.
Yeah.
But
Like
there's
it-
also thriller elements there.
That's what I'm saying.
There's drama, there is comedy, there is almost horror.
There's
little
almost
bit,
more,
yeah.
Like when they're going down in that basement for the
Dude.
first time,
So angry.
my heart's pumping.
It
bro.
is, yeah.
And I'm feeling claustrophobic. There's thriller aspects of
Yeah.
this. There's slasher aspects of this film as well. Like,
It's got it all.
it's got it all. And,
There's love.
Yeah, and it blurs the lines between what those genres are and makes this like big masterpiece of cinema. And it's so hard to categorize what type of movie this is. It's a Bong Joon Ho movie.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that truly solidifies how great of a director Bong Joon Ho is. Like I will come out and say I think Bong Joon Ho is one of the greatest living directors.
He's one of the
right
greatest.
now.
Yeah.
Like, I will continue to watch out for what that guy's going to put out.
For sure.
Like, he continues to make hits.
Well, and even seeing him in the difference from Memories of Murder to where he's at now.
Oh yeah.
How much he's grown.
Mhm.
It's phenomenal. And like I think for him it's only the beginning.
Oh
And
yeah.
then he's gonna
Oh,
put
yeah.
up more bangers.
yeah. I watched. So I've watched Memories of Murder and Snowpiercer and this one.
I watched. Did we watch? We watched.
Oh, yeah, we watched
Snowpiercer.
Snowpiercer. I've watched it, like, twice.
I wasn't a big fan.
I like Snowpiercer, but like there's one thing that I notice in all of his movies. He's such a great storyteller.
Yeah, for sure.
And he has a way of telling stories and conveying so much meaning in little things that whenever people go back and watch them, they're kind of like, oh man, like there's always this hidden meaning in all of his films. I would say that, you know, they hit this bigger narrative that he wants to tackle through the lens of cinema.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate that in a director.
It's like it's almost like it's human problems as well.
Yeah.
Like with Memories of Murder, he focuses on like systematic oppression and the police force and all that stuff. And I've watched a little bit of Outtro, but in that focuses around like more of, you know, the animal rights and you know that pig thing, that massive pig thing. But he focuses on a lot of like really relatable topics, especially with this movie too. I feel like this one is the easiest to watch because you're like,
it's about something that everyone knows about.
and it's something that everyone is questioning about. Like, okay, this person is not doing financially well. What happened? How did they get there? This person is incredibly rich.
Yeah.
How did they get to where they get to?
Yeah.
And how do they kind of like how do they connect? You know what I mean? How do they relate to each other? And in this movie, it's like they kind of don't.
They don't.
They kind of don't.
They feel like they live in two different worlds.
Yeah, it's almost like kind of like master and slave type relationship there.
Yeah.
Which I love, and I think it's really relatable, which is why it's easiest movie to throw on and watch and be like, yeah, I've seen this happen in real life. I understand.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So basically, the movie is about this family, the Parks, and this other family, the Kims. And eventually it goes to the Parks are trying to better their lives, I should say.
Yeah, they're poverty stricken.
They are almost to the bottom.
Yeah. So you would say lower class
Yeah.
for us. They're the lower class or very low. And one of the sons gets an opportunity to work for this wealthy family, the Kims, and basically he's just plugging his family in, like looking out for their family and getting them to work with the Kims just to better their lives and get out of poverty. But there's so many steps he has to take to get his family there.
And while the family gets involved with this other rich family, we start to see that there's like a whole underbelly to not only the Park family, the rich family, but also the Kim family.
Yeah.
And it becomes
Chaos.
It does. It becomes totally and utterly chaotic. Like there is just the whole mask just gets peeled off, and we start to find things out about each and every one of the people in the family. That is like, oh my gosh! Like I thought this was just gonna be like a funny kind of movie that everyone is just ranting and raving about, but it becomes something totally different. And I think that's one thing I really loved about this movie was whenever we went and seen it, I knew nothing.
I knew absolutely nothing.
I knew absolutely nothing about it, and there were people I had talked to who had seen it already, and they told me, keep it that way. Keep it that way, and go to the theaters and just watch the movie. Don't watch a trailer. Don't read any synopsises or reviews, anything like that. Just go watch the movie and let it sink in.
Yeah.
And that was the best advice, man, because this movie is awesome, and I'm excited to break it down to you. I hope we can do it justice.
I hope so. Yeah, we're gonna do it. I'm probably gonna talk about. I feel like we have every single scene in this damn movie.
Dude. Well, let's just start it up. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Where can people watch this?
This is on Hulu.
It is
right.
Yeah, just
normal
regular
Hulu.
regular
You don't need a
subscription.
subscription,
No
like
subscription,
premium
no-
subscription. or
Nope.
nothing.
Just
No.
go ahead. I think it's been on there for quite a while.
And the rest of his filmography is on there as well. But I will make a disclaimer. You know how in Memories of Murder it was doing that weird, like, it would play the scene back but double
Yeah.
the speed? Was doing it to this film as well.
Oh wow.
So I think it's just his filmography is affected by that. I'm not
Mm.
sure why. I was
Okay.
very confused. It was like my TV was kind of gaslighting me because I was like,
that didn't happen.
that didn't happen. What the frick is happening? Because it would continue on and it would
Yeah.
redo the scene. And I'm like,
I
hold
remember
on.
you sending us
Yeah.
that clip.
And I remember I made it such a big deal.
Yeah, I
You
remember
were
you
like,
sending us
"Mate,
that
watch
clip
out
from
for
Memories
this."
of Murder, and you were like, "Dude, did this happen in the movie?"
I was like, am I going crazy? What the frick is happening?
It looked like a weird like 2000s editing choice where like everything's sped up and all that
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah, it's
But yeah, it is on Hulu. Go check it out. I highly recommend it. I think I own it.
Yeah.
I own it as well.
Yeah. So, go check it out. It's been on there for a while. I'm not sure if they're gonna take it off. I don't think they will.
Nah.
Yeah. If
Um,
you're into the Criterion Collection stuff, get the Criterion Collection version. Like whenever it comes to their half off sale and it's $20,
Worth it.
dude, I want to get it.
Mhm.
Just
Just for the
just
cover.
for the cover
Yeah.
alone.
I
The
need
cover is sweet.
I want to see the supplements inside.
I
and
know.
all
I
that
wonder what they
stuff.
would put.
I know, and
I
that's
feel like
that's
what
the
if
part
they
that
put
eats
a
me
little?
up.
What if they put a little stone?
Yeah.
That would be so
would
sick.
be
Like a
sick.
little pocket one?
Yeah, that's the thing too. I kind of am upset that I did call in because I would have loved to bring my Scholar Stone.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's right. You do have one.
Yeah, Nick got me one
Yeah.
for my birthday. I think one year. Right?
It was, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
it was like a week after your birthday because of shipping and all that.
Yeah,
But yeah.
But it's still cool.
he got me a Scholar Stone made from like I think it was Norway.
No, it was Estonia.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was in Europe
Estonia.
somewhere.
It was far
Um,
away.
But they create Scholar Stones. This one is real.
Mhm.
It's not hollow. It doesn't float. It's a rock. It would sink to the bottom of the ocean if I threw it. But
You could deck someone with it.
yeah, but it's like a custom one, and
Yeah.
it looks like a canine tooth kind of.
Mhm.
But I love it. It sits on my desk at work, and it's one of those things. It's like I don't know. I love that Nick got it for me because it's one of those gifts where I can look at it and I play with it a lot at work. I'll mess around with it and take it out of its thing.
Yeah,
and,
it, like,
and hold it and
Fits
stuff and
perfectly in
everything.
that little wooden base.
Yeah. But it's one of those things that has meaning to me, not only because, I watched this movie and I understand what the Scholar Stone is and stuff like that, but, I believe I had gotten into the time I was getting a new job.
Mm.
And at that time I was kind of like, oh, I'm going to be getting paid much more than my previous job. And I had watched this film and getting that stone was kind of like an anchor and being like, money isn't everything. Status is not everything. And that stone reminds me of that and it feels like it keeps me grounded. So
Heck yeah.
that's one of the more heartfelt gifts that I've gotten. So I really do appreciate it. I wish I would have brought it, but
Would have been sick.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'll put it up on the Film Bros Instagram maybe if you
Yeah,
guys
just-
want to see it.
Check it out.
But
Check it out.
all right, well, let's get ahead and talk about this film.
Yeah.
And I'm excited. We're gonna talk about spoilers and
Yeah.
stuff.
Big spoilers, yeah.
There's big spoilers with this movie. So if you haven't seen it, do yourself a favor and check it out. Don't let the film being a foreign film scare you.
No way.
The only thing that is, this is a Bong Joon Ho quote. Whenever he accepted all the Oscars for this film,
This is the whole.
yeah, he says that there is an entire world of cinema out there that is great, just like this movie. The only thing that stops most people is that 1 inch of subtitles.
Mm-hmm.
And it's true, man. I remember going into this movie scared in the theater thinking like, oh man, how am I going to pay attention? But once you're in it and you're really invested,
Mm-hmm.
it's so much easier than people would think.
Yeah.
So,
And I also will say too, the way that they translate it, you get a lot of it's not a lot of the culture obscures it. You know what I mean? It's
Mhm.
very relatable
Yes.
that we can read through
Yeah.
English subtitles.
yeah. So, all right, let's get into this thing. Abe, since it's your pick, you want to start
Yeah.
us off with your first favorite scene?
My first favorite scene, it's kind of weird the way how I put it. I really like the beginning until, I loop this together until he gets the offer to be the tutor. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
that whole sequence, I just
Lumped
Like-
together as like the
lump-
intro.
like the intro. Yes, I lumped
Okay.
it together because when it's opening, you see.
Free fumigation.
Fantastic.
Dude, oh my gosh, that was funny. But we see Kevin, which is the son of the Park family,
No,
Um,
the Kim family.
Kim family.
Yes.
Excuse me, and Is it? No.
Yeah, the Kim family. The Park family is the rich family.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, my bad. I was confused. So we see him. He's struggling to find Wi-Fi for his phone.
Yeah.
And
Such a good way to start out
Yeah.
too.
and
She put a password on it.
he's
like, oh, go
literally,
around,
like,
go around.
everywhere.
He's all, hold it up high. You get better signal that way.
And so you just see them already in the conditions they're living in.
Yeah.
and
Yeah, it's a tiny little basement. Looks like it's
Basically.
it's actually underground.
It's
Yeah.
well, it's like almost underground.
I want to
Yeah.
see like a foot
Yeah.
of like free space, which is a window.
Yeah.
The only view you get is looking at people's feet on the actual ground.
Which is
Mhm.
crazy.
Or people peeing.
Yeah. Yeah. Seriously.
And you just see already their situation, what they're in, and like I said, I just lumped it together because we see what they're going to get paid already. They're making
Doing all the
pizza boxes
Yeah.
for a company for a low wage, and just I don't know. I kind of just felt bad for them,
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
but then you see, I don't remember his friend's name who comes.
His name's Min.
Yeah.
Min. So he's the one that brings the Scholar Stone
Mhm.
and shows him like this is supposed to bring you a lot of wealth. This is supposed to bring almost everything. And this is ultimate favorite part of this whole scene is when he gets the offer to be the tutor.
Okay.
Because Kevin seems like he's not capable enough to do this because of where he's at in his situation. He's not in college. He's not a
Doesn't
not
have degrees.
yeah. He doesn't have a degree.
Nothing like
but
that.
Min thinks like he knows he's better than all his other friends. Like
yeah.
The whole situation is kind of dirty though.
Yeah.
and I was gonna bring that up.
It's
also-
selfish too on
it is.
Min's part.
Yeah.
And also the reason why Min chose Kevin is because the way
He's
that I
like-
interpreted it
yeah,
was
he's
like
like, you're
Kevin
not
has
gonna-
no
you're-
game.
You're not-
Yes.
Yeah. You're not gonna put
He's
a
not
move on
gonna
my
get
girl.
this girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because this girl that Min's tutoring is a sophomore in high school learning English.
Yeah.
And I get so mad because he shows him a picture of her and says, "Cute."
He's
huh?
like, yeah, she's cute, huh?
And then
He's like, all these other frat guys, all they'll do is like ogle over her, and I know you won't do anything.
which
Yeah, which is like kind of a backhanded compliment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's either saying like you're not confident enough to do it, or she won't find you
Yeah,
attractive.
Yeah.
you just got no game.
You're just
like
you're just like another like a
plain
paper
Jane.
bag, over your face kind of guy.
Aw.
Yeah.
But I love it because he finally comes to like, not I don't want to say to his senses, but he's come to an agreement
Mhm.
to himself, saying like,
Yeah.
if I do this, it's gonna benefit my family.
Yeah.
I can help them out, and that's the way that I took it because
Yeah.
Min says they're gonna pay you good,
Yeah.
like, and it's just gonna help you.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I just loved it because you finally see a little light in him from the situation to this, where he's like finally gonna do better for himself
Yeah.
and for
Yeah.
his family.
Yeah. My
Gosh.
first favorite scene is whenever Min brings the Scholar Stone
Mhm.
over,
Mhm.
and he is essentially explaining like, oh, my grandfather has a ton of these. He used to collect them back in the day, but he doesn't want them anymore. He's throwing them all away.
Mhm.
And so he's like, oh, well, I thought it would be good to like bring it over to you guys. And, they're said to bring material wealth to the people that hold it and all that stuff.
And
And,
the
so
dad's like,
people are like, oh, wow.
Thank
okay.
you. Yeah.
And I immediately I didn't notice this until the third rewatch. Like men, like they hold this guy to like such a high standard. Whenever he pulls up, they're like, oh, he's a man of like status and vigor. He went to university. Look at the way he holds himself and conducts himself. He's
Mhm.
able to control and command any situation
Yeah.
and all this stuff. So they're immediately holding this guy like to a higher standard just because he's been to university, right?
Mhm.
And we get the point that like this guy has a name for himself, or he has money. Look at the way he's dressed. He's driving like a little Vespa, and he comes in and he's holding this big wooden box, and he starts telling them about this thing. And to somebody that's poor and very deceivable,
Mhm.
you can pawn this thing off that he said was literally going to be trash. Like his grandfather's throwing this stuff away.
Yeah. But he's like, oh no, it's a
And
great
he's
gift.
like, no, it's a great gift. It will bring you material wealth.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, this guy, if he didn't give it to them, or if they didn't accept, he probably would have thrown in the trash.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like, and I think that's something that is very interesting. Like a man of status and a man who has no worries, like the Kim family,
Mhm.
can see through that and be like, oh yeah, it's just a thing, and throw it away. It's not going to bring you anything.
Mhm.
But I love that they introduced this pretty much within like a couple, I would say like 10, 15 minutes into the film.
For sure, yeah.
And it becomes something that, you know, is referenced throughout the film.
A symbol.
And yeah, it's a symbol. It's a big metaphor.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the thing that it ends up becoming at the end of it. And it's insane. It takes on a whole new meaning in some certain scenes. I love it.
Yeah, I have the intro scene as well. That scene you're talking about, I love it too because you know they set up so much in this introduction scene. And stuff I want to highlight is when the dude comes up, when Min comes up, immediately you see Kevin be like, and he gets kind of like ashamed of his living situation. He's like, "Oh, why did you come in? I could have met you outside.
Yeah,
what's going on here?" And because he's ashamed of where he's at and all that stuff. But I wanted to focus also on the pizza box scene and how it's so smart because they're doing their pizza boxes and the fumigation comes.
Mr. Kim's like a unit, bro. He's
seriously, because that's how they're getting paid.
Yeah,
and it comes into question. Are they just like, do they actually not work for their wage? Because they end up getting their like 1/4 of the boxes suck.
Yeah,
and are not able to be used. But this is the beginning of we get to see the family kind of putting their morality aside.
Yeah,
because they kind of blackmail this pizza lady.
Yeah,
they were like, "Oh, I know that you're kind of short staffed. You have a guy who just."
Yeah, they almost look like they're about to jump her.
For real.
They're like, so how about I come by later and we set up an interview.
They take over.
Yeah.
They're in position. They're in the power.
Yeah.
And that was our first little introduction of what they're willing to do to get money.
Yeah.
Which I loved. I thought it was really effective at how they set it up so small at first because it's not that big a deal. He's just trying to get a job and he's going to do whatever he can to get a job.
Yeah.
And you get to see where he takes it.
Yeah.
And how deep he takes it is crazy.
Yeah. I loved it.
But yeah, so that I guess we can lead into whenever he gets a job there. He has this whole interview with the mom. The mom is like, it's funny too because he makes this whole fake document of him going to college.
Yeah, I love whenever the sister makes it. When Jessica makes the fake degree, she does. She has some talent, and she prints it out. And whenever we see Mr. Kim, the dad, looking at it, he's like, "Man, Jessica, like if they had a major program in Stanford or something like that for document forgery, you'd be at the top of your class."
That's one of my favorite quotes.
It's great. It's funny, man.
Yeah.
I remember was laughing at that, and I love that immediately Kevin sees it as like what I'm doing right now. I see is not wrong.
Yeah,
I am seeing this as earning money for our family, and then I see this as like I just printed out my degree early.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna go to this university and I am gonna earn a degree.
He's trying to rationalize it.
Yeah, like,
he's trying to make him. The way that I looked at it, he's trying to like justify what he's doing.
Exactly, he's trying to justify the lie that he's going along with, and at the
I got so much respect for him for that because there's no way if I forged a document like that, I would have been like, "Oh, you caught me, dude." There's no way I'm like, "Oh, I'm gonna get it eventually." I'm like, "All right, you caught me."
Yeah.
The funny thing is though, whenever he gets to the interview, it's almost like the
mom doesn't care.
Yeah, she doesn't even care.
It's the recommendation is what counts.
Yeah,
it's the truth behind the recommendation is that all that matters to her, which I think is a little funny, and it kind of brought into question a little bit. Like, I see it happen all the time, like especially on Amazon. I was wondering the idea of if it costs more, it's better.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you don't really. Like
I know my grandpa would fall into that trap. Like he, before his life ended, he would spend a lot of money on on things that he could have bought cheaper, but he was under the impression that, well, if it costs more, it must mean that it's better.
Mm-hmm. So I took it as, Min was already like prestigious and high up and well thought of, and his recommendation was worth more than actual merit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was worth more because of him.
Yeah.
And I was like, but what if they suck? You need to see like the merit of what he's been through and what he's learned to be able to do it. But it wasn't even about that.
No,
which is weird because you have that like wealth mentality of like, oh yeah, I'm willing to spend more and I don't care if it costs more, it's better.
Yeah,
which is weird, but
it's because she's rich. That's why.
Yeah,
for sure. But I really enjoyed that whole scene where. She's like, since it's your first time, I'm going to sit in and watch you.
Yeah.
And, he sits down with the daughter and
like, what's the answer to this? And she's like, I don't know.
Yeah. They're like going through it and she she like circles it, and he goes, "Let's go back to 27.
Yeah.
Are you sure about that answer?" And she says something, and he goes, "You know, it's not even. I don't even care about the answer. I just want you to be sure.
Yeah.
And I want you to have the vigor for learning."
Yeah.
And he's like holding on her pulse, like
Yeah.
very.
And he was like, if this were
seductively.
if this were the first test on a final exam, like you would have failed already.
Yeah.
And he's like, I want you to think of like taking a test as like slashing through a jungle and like having the tenacity and the vigor to like just get through it by sheer determination,
Mm-hmm.
which is like, the thought of it's nice, but at the end of the day, like if
Doesn't
you're just
really
if you're getting through a test to just get through it, most likely it's gonna be wrong.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's gonna be wrong. Yeah,
It's kind of bad advice. Like, you know, most of the time you're kind of like, you want to take your time on the answers, make sure you're reading them correctly and stuff.
Mhm.
This guy's like, just get through it. Like, just
be sure.
Yeah.
If you pick B in your heart, then write it down.
yeah,
You know.
yeah.
But it convinced the mom. The mom
Yeah.
was like,
Yeah.
"All right,
Oh, man,
here's
he knows what he's doing. All right.
here's the money plus inflation." Like she gives him a wad of cash.
A fat wad.
Yeah, and I don't know. I just enjoyed it.
I
too.
also, in that scene, I noticed that she took some bills out. Why do you
Yeah.
think she did that?
Oh, she did, huh?
Yeah.
Because she has the stack, and then she like
And
puts
then
it in
she-
the envelope, and then
and
takes
then
it out
takes
again,
some
and takes
out.
them out.
I don't know. Maybe it's like he has to earn his full
Earn
wage,
more. Maybe that's what she was previously paying Min.
and because
then-
it's
But she
not
said
me.
because
she
it's not
was.
him. Well, that's the thing. She could lie.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't know how much Min was making.
I don't know. Like I said, I noticed it, and I was like, oh, that's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, scenes like that they don't focus on, but it gets you to question.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Why is that in the movie?
Yeah.
It's cool.
So my next favorite scene is a little bit after that. It's when we're meeting the little brother.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Da Song.
is that how you
Right?
say
I
it?
think that's how you say his name.
I think so.
Dawson.
Yeah.
Da Song. The
And
artist.
basically, basically at this point, Kevin has gotten his sister into working, and this is when we're meeting Jessica
Mm.
for the first time. And
What a freaking actress,
Yeah,
dude.
the Jessica something.
They do that whole-
Illinois,
the
Chicago.
rhythmic-
from
Yeah.
Chicago, Illinois,
Yeah,
she
dude,
makes a whole, they make a whole song.
I Jessica, only child, Illinois, Chicago. Dude, I love it. It's so smart.
Yeah.
But the mom goes in and opens the door, and literally what makes me die laughing is this kid, the song has a arrow in his butt.
Oh
Yeah, he's
Like,
straight up clenching
he's-
it between his cheeks. Dude.
He's drawing. And so Jessica's supposed to be this really good art teacher from Chicago.
Yeah, she's an
Um,
art therapy teacher.
Yes. And like she went to like the Institute
She
of
went
Art,
to
something
some
like that.
Institute of Arts in
Yeah.
Chicago or something.
And so she's like really good at it, and she makes these, like you said, an actor, but she comes up with these lies.
yeah.
She's such a genius too.
Yeah, she's like, I just Googled art therapy
And ad-libbed the rest.
Yeah.
So we get to that point, and like the mother said for Kevin's first lesson, she'd like to sit in, and she's like, no,
No.
Yeah.
leave the room now. And then like in the movie, probably 1 or 3 minutes pass by,
Yeah.
and she's sitting down at the table with the song, Jessica is, and it
Well, at
looks-
first, the mom wants the housekeeper to go check in on them. She's like, she won't say anything if it's you. You're not family.
Yeah.
Go in there and see what's happening. Tell me what's going on.
Mhm.
And
and that's
then
when they noticed.
Yeah, she comes back and they're sitting at the table, and all of a sudden, Da Song's like well
Like,
behaved. He's
well-mannered.
bowing.
Yeah.
He's back.
And all this stuff.
everything.
She's like, oh man,
that
this
makes
guy.
me want to know what she said to him.
Yeah,
There's got to be something.
She's had to yell at him the whole time.
something.
She fits into the family, man.
She does.
Yeah,
Um,
she holds herself well,
Oh,
especially
yeah.
around these rich folk.
mhm.
Yeah. And in a profession that she knows nothing about.
Exactly.
It's I love
The whole schizophrenia zone.
That's
thing
that's what
is
I'm getting.
such bull. Like,
Is it though?
I believe it's bull.
I think
Like,
it is.
I think like she just like bull crapped it the whole time and then like just got lucky. You
Oh, you
know?
think so?
Go ahead and explain the rest of it.
So
but-
basically,
Dude,
this,
I love
the
it.
scene goes to where she dismisses the song, and he goes, and the housekeeper's there, and the mom is there, and she only wants to talk to the mom. So she dismisses the housekeeper, and she goes, "Was there an event that happened in the first grade?"
And she
then
goes,
she's all,
She's like the biggest gas, like it's a soap opera, dude. And it basically
That's
was
such
like,
a good guess, huh?
this is happening. She goes, in this drawing on this left corner, it's called the schizophrenia zone.
and there's like a similar shape that was drawn here as well as over here, the one that you have hung on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, oh my gosh, like I can't, like, And basically just bullcrapping her way into working for the family.
Yeah.
And getting to think that she knows what she's talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And the part that I love the most is when she finesses her and says, I need 4 2-hour sessions, and this is how much I want paid. And it's always like this. And like, I was just like,
Well, yeah.
Yeah, she's like, well, my profession is at a very, like, I get paid at a very high level.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because of what I do is so niche.
It's that whole idea of if it costs more, it's gonna be
It's gonna
good.
be better.
Yeah. And she immediately, she's like, oh, okay. Yeah,
Whatever you
that's
need.
Whatever you want.
Yeah.
and
But she really knows nothing.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
nothing.
Yeah, and she's straight up, like, just making stuff like as it
I
goes
wonder if
on.
I could try
Yeah.
to do that.
You'd have to be a good actor, man.
And you will probably also go to jail if you
Yeah.
get caught.
That's very true.
Very true.
So
You could be messing kids up like that.
But I just love the scene because you see again the extent of where it's gonna take this family to get where they want to be.
yeah,
And again, you really see Kevin. He's already in it for good. They like him.
yeah.
Now Jessica got her foot in there,
Mm-hmm.
and she's like, okay, like this family's starting to like me.
Yeah.
I can do some things here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I also like to, before Jessica even gets introduced to the Park family, that little like that grin that Kevin has whenever they're walking down and Mrs. Park starts to say something about an art teacher or something.
Yeah, we've gone through
and
so many
and
of them.
and he's just kind of like,
I got an idea.
like
all right.
I
It's
got
like
it. It's
the-
like, hey, yeah, for real. And he's kind of just like,
Licking his
well,
lips.
I know this woman. She went to the University of Illinois in Chicago, and
Mhm.
she's a friend of my cousin, and comes up with this all elaborate story. And
So smart.
Yeah, and I also think it's hilarious whenever she shows Kevin that photo before he leaves. And he's like, "Oh yeah, he's definitely an artist. You got an artist on your hands." And he's like, "It's a chimpanzee, right?" And she's all self-portrait. And he's all, "Oh, okay, I see it." Like, it's so funny him just trying to be like, "Oh,
I
okay,
see,
yeah.
yeah.
And just trying to feed into their bull.
Mhm.
Yeah, hilarious.
Yeah.
My next favorite scene is, I'm gonna jump pretty far, but the whole peach buildup.
Oh, I have a scene before that.
I do as well.
Okay, let's get
Go
into
ahead.
it.
So, up until this point, the Kim family has been fulfilling roles that had been needed, right?
Mhm.
A tutor, an art teacher, therapy person, but it's only when it stuff starts to get nefarious, whenever they try to like oust some of the current workers
Dude.
there. And it takes place with one of my favorite scenes where after an art therapy session, Jessica gets taken home by one of the drivers, and she notices. That we get a whole scene of her saying like, "Dad, you used to drive. You can do all this kind of stuff." And she makes a ploy to like leave her panties behind
Yeah.
and like kind of frame him for
Yeah.
using the work car for
Yeah.
doing his personal stuff
Yeah.
and to get him fired so the
Mhm.
dad can take that role over.
Yeah.
And immediately I was like, "Oh, they're scummy.
Yeah.
They're really like
They're
manipulating."
they're messing with other
People's lives.
people's livelihoods.
Yeah. It's it kind of hurts too because you'd want to think that they would like take wealth away from the Park family,
Yeah, but they're
Or-
taking food out of the mouths of other people who are also struggling.
who are also poor. Too.
Yeah.
So it's
Like-
kind of like I get what you're doing, but this isn't.
This
kinda like,
isn't-
It
you need
feels,
to
it feels wrong.
like work together here.
Yeah.
I feel like it's just like I don't know if this is gonna sound bad, but like they don't have any morale.
No,
Or-
they're
No.
just straight up
They're
bag.
just-
They're bag chasing.
When people say chase the bag,
That's what they're doing. They're like, my whole family's getting a bag, bro.
Seriously. And-
But it's like it's almost like unsettling to see that because I feel like you just don't want to see people struggle. Like I see people when I'm driving, I see people on the street. I'm just like, man, I wish I can do something significant to help them.
yeah,
And the Kim family does not have.
they're
that.
like putting those people in those positions
they are putting those people in the position
with not even a thought for them, just how they can benefit their family.
Yeah.
Which is hard, but it ends up being to the scene where the dad finds the panties and he brings them to the wife and he's like, "Look at these."
Yeah.
And their mentality shines so through here with how rich they are and how
Yeah.
that's kind of clouding their judgment on the poors.
Yeah.
The dad is like immediately like, "Oh, he's doing it in the in the car," and then he's like,
Does he get off by dripping his freaking stuff on my seat?
Yeah.
Stuff. He crossed the line.
He's talking down on him, and the part that I think I wanted to highlight here is when he's like, it's kind of strange for them to forget their panties. Like, you normally forget like an earring or maybe some hair left over, but panties are pretty significant.
That's significant.
And immediately the dad's like, maybe she's on drugs.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's such a reach, honestly.
Yeah, it is.
There's way more like practical reasons for this to happen.
Yeah.
And immediately that he's like, oh, he's a poor, druggy, smells bad. All of these horrible things that are
and
like
it was in my car.
stereotypical with
And in
like,
my seat.
Yeah.
Like, because he even goes to the extent and he goes, why can't he do it in the front seat? Like why
in
does it
his
have
seat,
to
why
be
does
in
it have
my
to be-
seat?
Yeah. And he goes as far to say like, oh, he crossed the line. He's gone.
And that whole crossing the line notion kind of starts here,
Yeah.
but leads on to when the dad kind of takes over the driving role. And I loved it too because they're at like a car dealership in the car trying to figure out all the buttons.
Yeah.
I thought it was really wholesome, and it was a funny scene too because one of the guy goes, "You're taking quite a while looking at all this stuff. Are you okay?"
Yeah.
But he ends up going to the interview with the dad, and the dad is like, "Oh, this isn't an interview. Just drive me home," and all that stuff. And he's all he's doing is holding his cup up.
Yeah.
And he's kind of
Seeing
using
the ripples.
Yeah, he's noticing how well Mr. Kim is driving based on how like if he spills his coffee or not.
I love it too
I
because
thought that was smart.
oh, it's definitely smart.
Oh yeah, like he like drives him real soft.
And
like,
in
we
the
see
corner?
we see the coffee not move much, and he's like, your cornering is excellent. And he's like, well, it comes with years of experience.
The way that they like present themselves to is perfect.
Yeah.
Because not only does Jessica kind of say like, oh, I'm like she demands respect.
Mhm.
This guy is a seasoned driver.
Yeah.
He gets in the car, he turns off the navigation. He's like loosey goosey with it, but still solidly driving. And the guy he immediately notices.
Yeah.
Which it's so rewarding to see kind of all of the plan work in motion.
Yeah.
And actually be successful.
Yeah.
Because we were almost kind of like rooting for the family.
Yeah.
To kind of invade this family. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It sounds bad, but yes, that's where I feel. That's what I feel.
I was like, dude, let's go, get in there, like you got the mom. What's next? They're dragging me along with with what they're doing here.
Yeah.
My next favorite scene is it's very subtle, very small. And it's actually a little bit before yours getting the father driving. It's when Jessica's talking to the mom about the situation, finding a new driver, and the mom eventually, Mrs. Park, says, like, I trust you because of this belt of, it's like a belt of truth.
Mhm.
It's just a line, and it's never worked. And I just liked it because you see where it started. It started with Min, and then it goes to Kevin, and then Jessica, and then from Jessica, it's gonna go to Mrs. Kim or Mr. Kim, and then and so forth.
It's just all based off of
Yeah.
trust of recommendation.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Yeah.
that's
and,
it.
And I don't know why I marked it down because I just liked what she said. It's like a belt of truth. Like I can trust it because it's gonna hold together like a belt, and that's what I took out of it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know why I really like that scene, but I did. And that's why I put it down.
You guys have any more before the peach?
No, because mine is the peach scene and a little bit like after that. So I'll let you take it.
That peach scene, man.
Yeah.
It's so dramatic. Me
Dude,
and Lisa were watching it, and she was like, "This is so dramatic, dude."
Yeah.
I
But it's
love it.
I
I
it,
love
dude.
it.
Dude, I remember watching that for the first time in theaters and just being like, having this big old like grin on my face. I was just like, dude, this is so
Again,
good.
It's smart.
We're rooting for her
To poison-
Yeah,
to
we're
poison
We're
someone.
rooting for this woman to have a big allergic reaction.
Seriously, and
Yeah.
it's just the whole next step of their plan.
Yeah. So the whole time the Kim family is trying to scheme about how they can get the mom in, and they're like, oh man, well that housekeeper, she acts like she runs the place and all this stuff. And Kevin ends up getting a piece of intel from the daughter and finds out that this woman is highly allergic to peaches, and the daughter, wishes she could have peaches and stuff, but they can't keep them in the house because she'll have an allergic reaction, so she'll start coughing and all this stuff. And they eventually, the Kim family comes up with this plot or this ploy to say that the housekeeper has active tuberculosis.
Serious.
And I love to, I love the whole, where they script it.
That's
That
my,
whole
that's my
scene.
favorite scene.
But, so
Dude, the
The-
housekeeper found the peaches, man. They're going
Yeah,
to
they're coming.
she's having an
gonna pick her up.
allergic reaction right now.
Stab her with an EpiPen, bro. But yeah. So this whole like Peach, thing is unfolding, and we see Kevin scraping the fuzz off the peach, and he's
The
like,
razor
while it's
blade.
happening, there's like a monologue, like what is it called? Like a voiceover.
Yeah.
There's a voiceover happening saying that, like, even like the smallest bit of like peach fuzz will trigger a reaction on her, and so he's like, with a razor blade, he's scraping peach fuzz off into this little vial,
Which
and then
is so smart.
yeah, and
dude.
as he's leaving, she's fixing something in the yard, and he goes over and just goes, tink, and sprinkles a little bit of peach fuzz on the back of her neck, and all of a sudden she's like in the
Coffee.
doctor. She's in the hospital the next day, and she's like, oh man, like I didn't see any peaches around. Like I don't understand why this is happening or anything. And then all of a sudden, Mr. Kim comes down, and he
Such a
goes,
slime.
yeah, he
He's
comes
like-
down and sits down and takes a selfie. And then comes up with this elaborate lie that, him and Kevin have wrote. They've like scripted it.
Scripted. I
Like,
loved this scene.
I love this. But they fully script this entire lie. Like they can even predict how
She's
I
gonna
Mrs.
react.
Park,
love
is,
that
Mrs.
too.
Park is going to reply.
Mm-hmm.
And they script this whole thing to say that, like, oh, I was going to the hospital for my annual, medical exam just to see how I'm doing health-wise. And I thought I'd seen this woman before. I've seen her, in passing a couple of times, but she looked familiar. And she was talking so loud on the phone, and I had heard her say to probably her husband or something like that they diagnosed her with active tuberculosis.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, Mrs. Park being oblivious and not really caring about
she's
anything. She's like, "Is that even around anymore?" And like, then it cuts back, and
They're
you
like
know, they're
rehearsing.
reading script and like being like, "Oh yeah, like it could still happen on a broad area and blah 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 all this stuff." And I love to like whenever Kevin answers like how Mrs. Park would answer, and then she literally says the exact
that.
same thing right after.
Yeah.
It just goes to show that, like, man, they can read these people like books.
Yep.
and totally play them.
Mhm.
Like they are straight up in the Kim family's hands, and they are just they're messing with them like they're
Yeah.
marbles. They're just shuffling them all around.
Mhm.
And it builds up to this whole thing where they go have pizza, and they're putting hot sauce on the pizza. And
I
stuff.
love that too. It's such a rewarding scene when they're at the pizza spot. The lady comes and, like,
Yeah,
slams
she's like
the
pissed.
pizza down.
She's pissed because they're wearing nicer clothes and drinking like higher quality beer.
Yeah.
And stuff, and she like slams it in there real quick.
It's a
and
part of their progression.
Yeah, and they put hot sauce on the pizza,
And
then,
that gives them an idea.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then they're like, okay, so to really seal the deal, what we need to do is whenever you're driving home, whenever you're driving Mrs. Park home, I'm gonna be there already, like with the son Da Song, and I'm gonna come by and sprinkle some more peach fuzz on her.
And it's so smart because the dad texts the daughter.
He says like
saying,
arriving in 3
Arriving in
minutes.
3 minutes.
Mhm.
And so it falls perfectly.
Yeah, and essentially what happens, this whole like chain of events goes on where she, Jessica goes down, she goes up to the housekeeper, sprinkles that stuff on her, she starts coughing, having an attack.
Mm-hmm.
And while Mrs. Park and Mr. Kim are coming up the stairs, they're seeing this lady go like
She's
just
so
hacking,
dramatic.
like,
She's
like
like-
coughing for her laugh. She's just going, and she's like coughing into a napkin and throws it in the trash, and then runs off somewhere to get water, probably, I'm assuming. And while they're doing that, Mrs. Park is going over there to see what's going on and like see if she's okay. And Mr. Kim slyly goes over, like hands off the stuff that he was putting down, and then grabs that hot sauce that we saw previously and squirts it all over the napkin that she was coughing into. And then
The way he
the
holds
way
it
he
up,
holds
too,
it
he's
up,
like-
he's kind of like,
Oh, dude. Look at
she's
this.
coughing up blood.
And the music is swelling at this point, and
Yeah.
she's like,
Yeah, dude, I love every minute of it, man. Like that is why I love cinema.
Yeah.
Like this is like a masterpiece in storytelling
Mhm.
and showing us things and then making them mean something later. Like, I don't know how many movies I've watched where I've seen something or something is shown to us and then it's never addressed again.
No, yeah.
And like this movie does not do that.
No
Like
way.
something as small as like them putting hot sauce on the pizza, they're like, oh man, they gave us an idea. Put this on a napkin, well, if she ends up coughing or something like that, and then ends up doing it, and he's like, oh dude,
Yep.
she's got active tuberculosis.
We gotta get her out of
Like,
there.
we got to get her out. She's gonna infect the kids.
Yeah.
Like,
Framing it around. Oh, I'm not I wouldn't say anything, but I know, like, I just want to be sanitary.
yeah,
and all
and
that
health, and
stuff.
health conscious. I don't
He's
want
like-
your kids to get sick.
He's like, I don't have any ill feelings for her.
yeah,
The fact,
that the thing that blew my mind, even in that scene, was the lie that he said of why he took a picture. Because he said he
Sending it to his
took a
wife.
selfie to send
He's
it
like,
to his
took
wife,
Yeah,
and the way he took it, it was just like
it
the
was like
phone-
half
he's
of his
all
face.
like this.
is like this. Like, it's not. There's no way in it. Like, my wife, I would take a selfie like that, but it's like the lie that he says. I was like, again, the extent of what they would do just to get into this.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And they have everything down. It's like science, basically, that they're gonna follow. Which it was just so rewarding to see that kind of come to fruition at the end there.
Yeah, but yeah, I love that scene. It's one of those scenes that these are one of those scenes that you can pull up on YouTube. This is the one for me where I'm just like, oh man.
This is the one that actually, like, seared in my mind.
Mm.
Like, when I thought about Parasite, I thought about the peach fuzz and just her coughing.
Mm-hmm.
Is what, like, when I thought of Parasite, was what reminded
Oh
me.
gosh,
Okay.
yeah, and it goes on to where she gets fired and the mom gets hired on, and they make this whole fake like VIP house cleaning, like
It's called The Care.
the company. Yeah, and he's like, oh, I can tell that they're
I feel
prestigious
high quality.
because of their business card is all good. And he goes, here, you know what, you can do the whole thing and you could take all the credit for it, because I can't really explain the relationship that the husband has with the wife. It's kind of,
it's weird, right? Because whenever he asks him, like, I can tell you love her,
and he's like, oh,
kinda
we could call it
he's
love.
kind of like like
Yeah.
kind of laughs it off.
He has another girl on the
you
side.
know, or,
It's-
yeah, like it feels like it's not genuine.
no.
Like it's kind of like, oh yeah, I
It-
got the old ball and chain at home.
It feels weird, right?
Yeah, it feels very strange.
Yeah. But they end up hiring the wife, and she's being all nice and clean and getting all the rules and all that.
That's when we see the daughter's eating peaches now too.
Yes, daughter's eating peaches. So they're finally. We feel like this is pretty much I love it. This is like the culmination of the whole plan. All of the families working together. Everyone's making money.
Yeah.
And they're exactly where they should be. And it's literally at the half of the movie.
Yeah, and they're literally being what the textbook definition of a parasite is.
Yeah, they're feeding.
They each are attached to a host.
Mm-hmm.
Mom is now attached to Mrs. Park.
Yep.
Dad is attached to Mr. Park.
Mm-hmm.
Jessica's attached to Da-sung, and then Kevin is attached to their daughter as well. Like it's literally like they're leeching off these people now and just sucking them dry. Like
Dry, dude.
It's effective.
And so they get, eventually it becomes Da-sung's birthday.
Yes.
And they decide, oh, we're going to go on a camping trip. So they go, and the mom invites her whole family, all the Kims, to come in and, basically treat the house like it's theirs.
Yeah.
And they sit around, they eat junk food.
They're getting drunk.
They're getting drunk. It's the culmination. I say that because the progression of they start the film eating this like moldy bread, really poor beer, malted beer. They go up. They're at a driver's cafe and they're getting a bunch of food.
Yeah, and he's like, eat as much as you can. Here, put more.
Put more. Yeah. And then they're at the pizza spot, and this is like the culmination. They're at this multi-million-dollar mansion, pretty much.
Yeah.
And they're all just enjoying themselves. This is like exactly what they want, right? And they kind of daydream a little bit. Kevin is like, oh, if I marry her, this could really be my house.
Yes. And he's all, do you be washing your daughter-in-law's socks?
Yeah.
Roasting her.
Yeah, and they're all kind of taking advantage of the situation. Jessica's taking a bath. Kevin's reading the journal.
Yeah.
All of this kind of craziness, and where it becomes my favorite scene is, they're all just messing around, jacking around, and all of a sudden
we hear,
ding, and you're like,
I've never, dude. The first time I watched this, because we become accustomed to that
Your heart sinks.
that doorbell noise. When I first watched this and I heard that, I was like, just woof. Yeah, I was like,
Oh,
who is
shoot.
that, dude?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who could that be?
Uh-huh.
And whenever we see it's the old housekeeper, she almost looks unrecognizable.
She's like bruised up.
Yeah,
messed
she's
up, and it-
bruised up.
And
Like,
it's because of the tuberculosis, right?
yeah, still swollen.
It's not.
like,
yeah. Tuberculosis or whatever.
like it's she looks rough.
Yeah.
And we come to find out she's like, oh, like I think I left something in the basement, and I need to get it. Like,
This
can
is
you
my
let me
favorite
in?
Dude,
Yeah.
I love that it's right in the middle of the movie because it completely shifts into chaos.
It shifts everything.
Everything.
Like tonally, metaphorically, pacing wise, like it shifts everything on its head.
Yeah.
And I love that they do that.
Mhm.
Like it makes the film fly.
Mhm.
Like up until that point, the whole time that they're leeching off the family and you know, interjecting themselves into this family, the whole time you're like, dude, this is sick. Like, I'm rooting for these people, even though like they're doing something that's kind of like immoral.
Mhm.
I'm rooting for them, right? And then all of a sudden we see this entire change, and it just the movie takes off.
Yeah. One of
Yeah.
my favorite scenes.
Yeah, mine as well. I really love how whenever the old maid gets brought back in, this movie, like we said, it shifts tonally. Like, it almost feels like a horror film.
Mm-hmm.
And we, you know,
She looks unhinged in that little like video doorbell. Dude, she's
Yeah.
like, I need to
Yeah.
come in.
yeah, like
Almost, it reminded me of like the Riddler.
Oh, a little
Okay.
bit, huh?
yeah, and it's absolutely insane. And like on a first watch, you're kind of like, what is this lady needing? And she's like, oh, like I need to go in the basement. Do you want to come with me?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
She
we're
goes,
kind
"No,
of
I
like,
thought that was
yeah, she's
sketch
kind of
already.
like, I'm like, no, like
Mhm.
I'm not gonna, no, like I'm not going down there with you, especially with how you're acting, you know. And we come to find out like she's been
Dude.
down there for a while, so she's kind of
She-
like, okay,
The
Yeah.
still of her.
yeah, and she's just wedged between like this wardrobe kind of
Freaking-
thing, like cabinet, and then the wall. Like on a first watch, you're like, what
What
the heck
the
is this lady doing, dude? Like,
I loved it.
yeah. And then and she's kind of like, help me, like pull this,
Yeah.
this, and then that's when we see like this thing moves,
Mhm.
and there's a secret door behind it. So immediately we're like,
What the?
what
What
is
is
happening
this?
here? What is this? Is this like a panic room or
Mhm.
something? And she's like, oh,
The
thank you.
hallway's narrow.
And she opens the door, and then there's just like a stairwell.
Mm-hmm.
And she's kind of like, oh, honey, honey. And she's just screaming. And the whole time you're like,
You're confused.
what
Why
the
is she
heck
yelling, honey?
Yeah, you're like, what the heck is going on?
Mm-hmm.
And we follow her down this long stairwell, and it's just narrow corridors, like this like green, bluish light. It
Mhm.
looks like a sewer almost. And that's when we come to find out that she's screaming honey because her husband has been living under the house for 4 years, I believe, because he's been running from tax collectors
Yeah.
or debt collectors
Yeah.
or something like that.
Gosh, and the way that she feeds him with the bottle too, it's almost
Yeah.
like he's like
He's like
child-
a like a
like a-
baby,
like
like an
an
infant,
yeah,
dude.
and,
It's-
and also she says like this man hasn't eaten in like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or something like that. So he's just been like cuddled up on this bed with like nothing to eat. No one's been able to get to him or
He's
anything
like a baby.
that. And she comes up to him and is just feeding him. Also, that banana he eats, bro.
why is he eating
Why?
like that?
Why does he go?
He starts throating that thing, dude.
Dude, okay, it reminds me, my brother, he's into smoking,
Yeah.
and he showed me this video of like they just smoked a good sausage, like a really good long sausage thing, and
Yeah.
the other video he like showing it off, but the lady's like grabbing
No.
it like this, and she's like stroking it, and I was like, dude, why are they grabbing it like that?
That's so funny.
But it's like exactly how he ate that banana.
He's all
sensual,
Dude,
man.
he straight up just shoves it. I literally said it while we were watching. I said,
He's like- he's
why are you eating the
he's
banana
throw-
like
he's
that?
throwing that thing.
throwing a banana, dude.
One thing I gotta like, so this is one of my biggest favorite scenes, but I gotta appreciate it. I'm just gonna mention it. Is ever since the first housemaid gets fired,
Mhm.
you know what? I noticed in the second watching is the lights.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they
And every
focus
ti-
on the lights. Go, dude.
Yeah, but then you don't see that, and then when she goes down in the basement, it's dark.
Yeah.
And I looked at Isaiah, and Isaiah looks at me, and he goes, "Bro," because we were just remembering it.
Yeah.
Because me and him were the only
Seeing
ones.
the
that-
lights turn on and turn off again, you're like, from a second viewing standpoint, you're literally like, there is a guy down there that is obsessed with Mr. Park, and he's literally turning the lights on for him, like as he walks up. Like
He has like a whole routine he does.
Yeah.
And he's like, respect.
yeah, yeah. But I love the scene whenever we get introduced to this family that's happening down there, and at this point, Mrs. Kim, she is kind of like, what the heck are you guys doing down here? Like, she's
"How
like,
to call the cops
we've been
on
living
you?"
out. Yeah, and she's, threatening to call the cops and to come get these people out. And that's when the housekeeper is kind of like, no, please, like, we're needy, just like you guys are needy.
I hate Kim too. She goes,
Yeah, and
we're not needy.
Yeah. She's like, we're not needy. We don't need anything. And it's kind of like I love this juxtaposition that, like, all of a sudden these characters who are so poor and so poverty stricken are now acting like they're better than people who are in the same situation as them. And it's like that gets hit on a lot later in the movie too, which is something I really like as well.
Mm-hmm.
But it amazed me, the flip, and like being like, oh, I don't care about you. Like, you're the one that's needy. I'm not needy. I'm not poor. I got money now. Meanwhile, they're leeching off of this family.
They're treating him like lesser than human.
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah,
much.
exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And
I love how it can switch so easily as well.
Yeah, and then I love the switch that happens whenever the rest of the family's listening on the stairwell,
like
and they end up
creepy.
falling.
Yeah.
And they all fall down, and Kevin slips up and says like, "Oh, Dad, my foot! You hurt my foot, Dad."
Yeah, and he's like, don't call me that.
Yeah, and meanwhile that's happening, they're literally filming what's going on.
That's the
She's
biggest
like, what the
bro
heck?
moment,
So she
dude.
films, and she hears him, Dad, oh, you hurt my ankle. And she's like, I got you guys. And now guess what? Like,
Now we're in control.
now we're in control. And if you call the cops, or if you don't let us go back upstairs and you guys stay down here, like, I'm gonna send this over to Mrs. Park, and she's gonna find out exactly who you guys are.
Yeah.
And I love that scene too. Whenever they go back up, and
They're all like,
they're all holding their hands up.
the power shift, dude.
The power they have is insane. And she's like, I love that her husband is like, man, I feel like I'm about to send off like a nuclear missile or something. Like,
the phone send button.
That send button is like a missile button.
Yeah.
Like, I could just hit that thing, and it would be like North Korea sending a nuke or something. And it's hilarious.
That's one of my favorite quotes, actually.
It's the power dynamic, and now the people who were looked down on, and we're saying, oh, we're so needy, are like filming them saying, oh, you guys are trash. You're like calling them. I can't
She's
even.
like, shut up, you filthy B word.
Yeah.
Like, all this stuff. Like, the whole dynamic shifts.
I'm like, you both are leeching off this family. Just make amends and do it together.
Yeah.
You could have done it. You could have made so much more out of this, and now
Yeah.
you're fighting each other for what?
Yeah, and I think that's pride that is coming in. Like, they're like, oh, no, you guys can't do that. Only we can.
Yeah. For sure. It has to be some kind of issue with like deep-seated pride.
Yeah.
But that whole sequence, man, is just stressful.
Yeah.
It's
And
very
that,
stressful.
That leads into my next favorite scene, which is when Kevin attacks him and tries to get the phone back.
Yeah, he tackles him.
No,
It was
it's the
the dad.
mom.
Oh, was
Is
it
it
the
the
mom?
Yeah, the mom gets up and straight up like
I thought it was
linebackers
Kevin.
them. Straight up puts a
Straight
shoulder
up.
check on them.
And it. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just saying it makes sense too, because they're recording, and it's like you think to yourself, "Oh, this would be a really good time to take advantage of it." And then immediately afterwards, all you see is the mom go,
Yeah.
Straight up. And it's just
Knocks him
chaos.
out.
They are literally just trying to fight
Just fight
each
this
other
phone.
for this phone, so neither of them gets exposed.
And the dad's
Because-
like holding homeboy in a chokehold. He's all, delete it. Don't send it on accident. Like, it's hilarious.
And this is where one of the biggest bro moments we get a phone call.
This
Mhm.
is
And-
another like heart-dropping moment because
Yeah.
everybody stops. Like,
Yeah.
And
what the heck is happening?
so then the new housekeeper, which is the mom, she goes and answers the phone, says hello, and it comes to find out it's Mrs.
You know
Park.
how to make Ramadan?
You know how to make Ramadan? She was like, oh, Ramadan, and then immediately looks it up.
Yeah.
And she goes,
We're gonna be home
in
soon.
7 minutes.
Our
8
campsite got
minutes.
flooded,
and she goes,
you
so you're pretty close.
yeah, and she's like, yeah. So I figure, if you start boiling the water by now, we should be able to eat by the time we get home. So could you start that immediately? And she's like, okay. How long will it be? And that's when we find out. Oh, GPS says 8 minutes.
Dude,
My
and
heart
you-
sank, because That's all chaos. And literally the house is trash.
It's
Yeah.
trash.
because they're expecting to be gone for a while.
There's food. There's glass broken everywhere.
Yeah, the dad-
alcohol.
Woof.
Like, yeah.
And the mom's a savage because she throws everything in the kitchen in one of the drawers.
Yeah.
She just,
Yeah, it's funny. And I love it too because she's making this like real intricate dish and we get to see her like fill the water, cut the steak and all that stuff. And all the while the dad is like, everybody has their own job. You know, the son has to go and put the diary back. The daughter is cleaning up all the stuff, putting it all under the pillow or all under the couch and the little mantle thing.
Yeah.
And it's so visceral too because now you have to worry about the family coming, making the food, and also dealing with this
With this other family.
with this other family. So that, oh my gosh, the dad ends up tying up the. Oh, and we didn't even. In the fight, the daughter goes and runs and pours the peaches on the.
on the lady. She
On the
like
lady.
rubs it on her face.
oh my god.
So she's out for a second. They tie up the guy, and the lady they put her down there, but she's coming back up, and all the while, the mom's walking in, and the mom straight up kicks her down the stairs.
Yes,
dude.
I
bro.
legit when
That was
I forgot.
Dude, whenever you
I
hear that
forgot this.
thud, when you hear that thud, it feels real.
It feels. It's
Like
like
she's tumbling down the backs, tumbling downstairs, and then just goes.
everything goes silent.
Yeah.
You
I-
immediately know.
Yeah, I'm all like, oh, dude, she killed her.
She's
Like,
straight up
she's
dead.
Like, there's no way you survive that, bro.
While I was watching it, I forgot the scene happens, and I literally go, "Oh my gosh!"
Yeah. And it's something too, like it's as the Parks are walking in, the mom sees that she's running back up and is yelling,
And just goes, "Whop."
and she just has this dish
Straight
and
up
just
kicks
goes,
her.
"Floop," just kind of like donkey kicks
With
her
a
back
smile on her
down.
face.
Yeah, and she's all, "Here's your rum done."
Dude.
Like, oh, dude, like straight up kill the woman. like, it's insane.
Yeah, and it's completely like the whole time you're just tense. This is one of those times where the tone shifts to like, it's no longer this fun, nice comedy of a family infiltration.
Now it's gotten dark.
Now it's dark. There's
Dark.
people dying. There's people literally cracking their skulls open.
Yeah.
And them trying to, tie them up and hide them away.
Yeah, even the son's struggling and like trying to carry her.
Yeah.
Afterwards, and he's like, "Dad, help me! Like I can't carry her." It's insane.
Yeah, and I guess we could talk about the scene where, they finally they finally get out. I mean, there's a little bit more if you guys want to talk about what happens and goes on in that scene, but they end up getting out, right?
Yeah.
We get that realization that it's a little bit of rain, that the family's coming home. It's a little inconvenience for the family.
Yeah.
And we
This
see
is when they leave in the rain.
yeah, when they leave in the
This is my next favorite scene.
this has got to be the most like satisfying
Heart-wrenching and
satisfying realizations of cinematic history,
Yeah.
honestly, because the whole entire time this rain it's like a minor inconvenience
It's a minor inconvenience for the
For the-
parks.
for the parks.
Like they don't even care if their kid goes and camps out in the rain.
Literally, I'm so young. I would never let my kid.
Like,
No, you're gonna
put
get
a-
sick.
Put a teepee up in the rain and
But
camp.
it's
out
not
in the
that
rain.
big a deal, he's just whatever.
Heck no,
But
dude.
as they descend to get back to their little shaggy shack,
What's a minor inconvenience for someone who is rich
devastating.
is completely and utterly life changing to someone who is as of low class as the Kims.
Yes, they descend so low, and as they are descending, the water is just getting stronger.
It's just
and
rushing
stronger
and
and
rushing,
stronger.
And I love the use of cinematography
I
in
do
this
too.
and showing how grand of a scale it is, like the climb in order to get up to where the parks live.
Yeah.
Like whenever we first get introduced to their address, it seems like a short walk. Like
Yeah.
we don't see anything. Like he walks out of his house and then he's walking up this hill
Yeah.
and that's it. But it's when we get to this point where we are like, man, it's a mission to get up to the parks house, and it's also like a struggle in what you would say like class. Like it's a huge difference in class.
Oh,
Like these
yeah.
guys are living at the bottom of
They're-
the
Yeah,
barrel.
not only
Literally, they're at-
metaphorically they're
literally-
higher than them
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
financial situations, but also
physically.
yeah,
Like,
physically they're literally
people are literally living on top of the hill while these guys are living like straight up at the bottom of a barrel.
at the bottom, really.
Like like to the point where like when something rains like as heavy as it was,
Minor,
like
so minor.
it's like, oh yeah, we'll let our kid camp in the rain. All that stuff is washing down into their territory and flooding their houses and causing them to like have to leave and go live in a gym.
Yeah.
And it's not even regular rainwater; it's sewage.
There's so much rainwater that's getting trapped up that the sewers at the bottom start to back up, and now a ton of sewage water is literally flooding people's houses. Like, people are having to go through raw sewage
Doo-doo water.
to like get through their stuff, to go pick up stuff that they'd want.
It's heartbreaking.
And
It's so
leave
heartbreaking.
and go sleep in a gym for a night.
Yeah, just the cinematography and the stills that you can get from them, like going through that narrow hallway to get back to this house we've come to know.
Yeah.
And it's like up to their necks.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I watching the scene, I didn't like really think about the what's the word I should say, or I'm trying to think of the word of the intensity of the situation, maybe, until we get to still of Kevin and his shoes are literally like in the water on the steps.
And the water's just
it's
rushing
just rushing
over his
by,
shoes.
and that's when I knew how intense the situation was and it's gonna be. And I didn't think about it until I saw that, and that's when that's when it clicked in my mind. I was like, oh shoot, like
now
they're at the bottom,
and
they're getting it all. There's no way they're gonna avoid it.
Yeah.
No. And now this was the scene that I was talking about, or something else that comes up later in the film when we see that like these people sort of have like this like faux status, and they switch on the family that's in the bunker. So when they're going into their little neighborhood, they realize like, oh, this is all sewage water, it's flooded, and Mr. Kim, he's running by, and there's a neighbor that's trying to trudge like this bike up, and he's like, hey, can you help me with my bike? He's like, nope,
I'm done.
and like it almost felt like he was kind of like that's your poor person problem. Like I'm better than you now. I have the needs that I need right now.
You think
I have
that,
a
though?
job. Yeah, and it felt like he was kind of like, you're lesser than. Like I don't
think
have to worry.
that.
I don't have to worry about your problems. I'm better than you right now. I need to go worry about my own.
See, because the way that I thought it was like he said no because he has to go worry about his problem because he has to say the rest of what he has.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's that, but I don't know. It felt like with how they
With
acted
what the
to
movie's going on too.
Well, and with how they acted towards the other family who's in the same situation as them, it felt like they were kind of just like I can't be bothered by your problem.
I get your point, but
Yeah.
that's the way that I took it.
Then I really want to talk about whenever they get into the house, and we recognize like all their stuff is underwater.
Yeah, that's
Literally.
not
Shoulder deep.
shoulder deep poop water.
Yeah.
Like this is doo doo water. you said.
seriously.
And like it's this nasty brown color. Like I love that scene whenever Jessica is going to the bathroom.
I wanted to talk
and
about this.
she's literally sitting on the toilet. Like the toilet is spewing this like black like sewage like out from the toilet. Like it's literally splattering everywhere. And she takes a moment to like sit on top of the toilet
to stop it.
from doing that, and like takes a cigarette that she hides up in the tiles of the roof and starts smoking a little bit. And it's this really beautiful juxtaposition at the beginning of the film. Like they're doing that to try to like just scroll on their phones.
Yeah.
And now like they're literally like in the crap. Like
Literally. Yeah.
like in the crap. And she's taking this moment to just take a little smoke break.
Yeah.
I
love it too because you get that like sigh of relief that they finally made it out of the house. Like they didn't get caught. They have it all under situation. Their situation there is still stable, and then they get home and it's just a complete train wreck.
Yeah.
And I did want to highlight that scene because if you think about it in terms of like literal distance of like bottom of the barrel to up higher, like their toilet is higher.
Yeah.
So it's almost like their living situation is like worse than where their toilet's at. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I don't know. I just think it was a genius way to show the difference in like consequences or the differences in like you were saying intensity, whether like of your being rich and it being just a minor inconvenience to being absolutely devastating.
Yeah.
The lower in class you go.
Yeah.
And the poorer you get.
Yeah. And this is where we also get a really crucial scene involving the Scholar Stone again.
Mm-hmm.
Very true.
And this was where the second time I rewatched this,
that John is floating.
Yeah. And you know, at the time, whenever they interact with it for the first time, they're like, "Oh man, this is heavy. Like, this is good. You know, this is a good thing." And when we go through, and you know, at first, Kevin he grabs his mom's medal for the hammer throwing, and you know, a couple other things, and you know, he looks around, and we see this Scholar Stone float up from the bottom. We're kind of like, how did that thing float?
Yeah.
I thought that was a stone.
It's really hard to miss the first time.
Yeah, and you know, it floats up, and it's something that, like, you know, it looks cinematic, right? It emerges from the water.
The way his hands
he picks it up and is just holding it.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like, oh man, like I can't forget this thing, right? Like this was supposed to promise me,
clinging
you know,
to me.
Yeah, you know, it's supposed to promise me material wealth and all this stuff. Material girl.
I was just about to say that, dude. Literally, you said that.
But
Material girl.
But
I hate you for that.
But it's supposed to, you know, it's supposed to be a symbol of you know, wealth and prosperity. And this thing is literally floating. It's a hollow. It's fake. It's a fraud. It's a pipe dream. Like it's something that is completely impossible, and it means nothing. What we could say is a fugazi, right?
Placebo.
Like it's something that
could
have
have been.
Yeah, like that's another perfect term. Like it's something that, you know, they thought was bringing them the wealth, but it is just another thing. Yeah. Like it's a sugar pill. And it's so interesting that he decides to take it, and like decides to say afterwards, like whenever they get to the gym, like he asks him, like, why are you hugging that rock?
He's like, you okay,
like,
son?
And he's like, it's clinging to me. That's the only way I could describe it. And yeah, just watching that Scholar Stone get brought back up again, and realizing that this thing is fake is so meaningful, and it just goes to show that, like, not everything is what it seems. And you know, something that you could hold to such a high standard or put so much value in doesn't always necessarily mean that it's right.
Yeah.
You know, and I really enjoyed that they showed that.
Yeah, that whole rain down scene was probably one of my favorites. I think this is the highlight of the movie for me, is seeing exactly what happens, and then the effect of that is, you know, everybody's in this gymnasium.
Yeah.
Like, there's thousands of people affected by that. And dude, I hate it too, because like it seems like the next day they're like, "Oh, we're having an impromptu party. We need you to come as soon as possible."
No, it's literally the next day.
Yeah. It is, right? And dude, the fact that they have to go and like
they're like scrounging for clothes and stuff. Before we get it further, I do want to say as well, it's really interesting with the Scholar Stone. It literally floating in doo-doo water. Like, think about that. Like we think of something that's fake as like, oh, it's bull crap, right?
Oh yeah.
That stone is crap.
Stone is literally
being held up by crap.
Being held up by sewage.
Yeah.
Like, that's just another, like, hey, if this wasn't clear enough,
it's
like,
right there.
It's actually in doo-doo water. Like, that was just another thing that hit me. But yeah, we'll continue with that. This goes into my next favorite scene. I classify this whole
just the
string
ending
of events as the ending.
Yeah, and that's mine as well.
Oh my gosh, it kind of freaking sucks to see them pick through these clothes and like, oh, does this fit? Oh, does this fit?
Yeah, it pissed me off.
It pisses me off too, because throughout this movie, like especially when they were stuck under that, like, I forget what that thing is called. That giant thing that they're hiding under.
I just like say the center table.
Yeah,
center
table.
Center table. They're all like hiding under there, and the whole time the dad is like, describing like these people have
a certain smell about them, like the kind of smell that you would smell on a subway.
Exactly.
Which I was pissed when I heard that.
He's just describing like a poor people.
Poor. Like, oh, they smell poor. That's essentially what he's saying. Is essentially what he's saying.
Yeah, and the dad the whole time is like picking up his shirt and smelling it.
Yeah, exactly. It's so demeaning.
It is. Yeah.
And he's like they all have that smell.
He even says too, like, you know, he doesn't ever cross the line, but that smell crosses the line.
Yeah.
And he's talking about them like they're not people.
Yeah, and it's again like very dehumanizing.
It is, yeah. And this is kind of like the start of his realization, like him getting kind of pissed.
Resentment,
and the fact that like their whole world got literally turned upside down, and the how are they they're not gonna shower.
No, they have no way of doing so. They're straight up in doo-doo water.
Doo-doo
water. Like, and now they have to get up the next day. They have to continue with this lie that they've built up and go show up to this party.
They're gonna be smelling like trash.
Continue to work. Like, they're putting on clothes that we don't know where those come from. Thrift store clothing. Like, that stuff's got to be washed beforehand. It's gonna stink probably.
Oh yeah,
like,
for sure.
There's nothing that these people can do, and they've just gone through the worst night of their lives, and they have to get up and act like everything's okay.
Okay, I hate it. I hate just the context of it, but I think it's so genius how they kind of contrast this horrific night to the next day. The wife is like,
she's
okay,
all,
we got to go to the bakery. We got to go get wine. We got to go get all the snacks.
Yeah.
Dude, and she's like on the phone the whole time saying like, oh yeah, it rained. It's no big deal. It's just
beautiful. The sky's so blue
it
now.
got rid of all the pollution in the sky. Like saying all these great things about it. Little does she know.
Meanwhile, homeboy's driving her and he's like,
he's gritting his teeth, dude. He's like
And this is where I got upset because she is on the phone and she eventually gets
gets a sniff of him and she goes,
dude, she does that whole like
I hate
like
that.
this
and rolls
the window down.
Because
she's like putting her feet in his face, like all that stuff. Like, she's like, I don't have a care in the world.
Yeah, and
meanwhile, this guy's like, I just had my whole life taken from me. Like,
and the fact that she's able to just be like, an impromptu party where she buys like 10 bottles of wine.
Yeah, she's all, no gifts though. Like, no gifts.
No
fills
gifts,
up
but
her
bring your child.
Yeah, she's like, no gifts, but we're gonna buy all this wine. We're gonna buy flowers. Full on bakery. Oh, your friend that has a cello? Bring your friend that plays cello and sings opera. Like, what kind of impromptu party is this?
It's it's perfect.
Exactly.
It's a perfect rich family.
Exactly.
But it's like we get contrasted this like brown sewage, dark water, and then to this nice, bright, beautiful. The vibrancy in this is so beautiful with the green grass on the outside and those brown tables kind of framing the whole party, dude.
Yep.
It was so beautiful, and it's at this moment too where the son has been asphyxiated with Native Americans, and he wants to shoot the arrows and wear all the garb and all that stuff. And the dad, he's kind of like a wholesome dad.
Yeah.
Oba. He's on the
Oba.
He's on the little walkie talkies with him, but he wants to set up this whole play, and it's like a million things working in tandem right here. But like we'll start with the dad, kind of like he's so pissed. His life is destroyed, and now he's kind of doing this trivial stuff. And he crosses the line.
Yeah.
He finally crosses the line where he says something like, well, you do love your wife.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
And that pisses Mr. Park off also. And he's kind of like, listen, I'm paying you for this. Just treat it like you would you were working regularly.
Yeah.
And we kind of like
treat him kind of like a slave.
Yeah. Like he gets this almost like new characterization of like, hey, listen, I'm giving you money. Do what I'm telling you to do.
Yeah,
and then
no matter what.
Yeah, and then once we finished, like you don't matter to me. Like your existence doesn't exist in my mind.
Oh, yeah.
After I have paid you and you've done what you've been told.
Yeah. The ending highlights that even more.
Yeah.
But like as the father's dealing with all this, you got the son, like kind of, I don't even know what he's thinking he's gonna do with this rock, but he's deciding to take the rock. Well, at first he's with the daughter, and he's like, do I fit in at this family?
Yeah.
Do I fit in here?
Yeah.
Because he's kind of like self-conscious a little bit.
Yeah, and I feel like he's saying that because look at their circumstances, right? Like he is poor of the poor, right? He's at the bottom of the barrel, like I've said. And this guy is looking at this, view of all this rich birthday party, this impromptu party. And he's kind of like, look at my circumstances and then look at how these people live. Like they get to just randomly be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna call off work.
Let's have a party.
I'm just gonna have a party. We're gonna get drunk in the middle of the day. Let's just do all this stuff.
Yeah.
I took that scene and him asking like, do I fit in here as like he's asking a question that she doesn't know the answer to.
Yeah, because
right? She's like, oh, I don't know. Like as far as I know, you're my tutor.
Yeah.
I don't know that you're poor and that you live in this place and that your house got flooded with sewage. Like, I have no idea about that stuff. As far as I know, you're just a tutor. So I think you belong. But to him, he's like, these people are wealthy. These people are, upper class. I'm not. I don't fit in here. You know. And I think he's asking her like an unanswerable question.
For sure. Yeah. Well, it leads to him taking that scholar stone down to the basement where they left those a family.
Yeah.
One guy tied up, the other wife literally, she says like, I have a concussion, I'm feeling dizzy.
Yeah.
And we're left to assume that she passes away.
Yes.
And the husband's going crazy. He goes down there, I don't know, either to finish off the job or to...
Yeah. I don't know. I think like he either is going to kill homeboy with the scholar stone.
That's what I thought.
But I also think like, I don't know, there's a part of me that thinks that there's a genuine belief in the stone that like he is going to gift it to them and is like, hey, listen, this brought us all of this wealth and this whole success that we're feeling right there is because of this stone, and I want to give it to you. But he fumbles it.
Well,
I don't see, and I don't think that because the guy who's living down there says, I like living down here.
Mm.
Yeah, but he's kind of like, he's blinded pretty much by, like, he has this, like, weird fanatical, like, relationship with
Mr. Park.
Mr. Park. And he's never met him. He doesn't get to see him. He's in a basement that has no windows. He has no social life. Like, it's distorted. It's a very distorted view of...
He's a stan.
Yeah.
For real. And for what? For what? Like, he gets the bare minimum.
Yeah.
And it's like he is leading that to believe, like, oh, this is the best situation.
Yeah, he believes that his purpose in life is to turn on the lights as Mr. Park walks up the stairs.
But that's not a life to live.
No.
You know what I mean? It's not at all. And the way that, like, it distorted his view of, like, he's so poor, and the rich can distort it to where it's like, yeah, they're giving me money, they're helping me.
Yeah.
But it's like it's always the bare minimum.
Yeah.
And that's like one part of it, is seeing it through that perspective. But he fumbles the rock, he goes down there to pick it up, and all of a sudden you see, this is a horror element.
Yeah. We see that like there's a body. So we're kind of like, oh, that's the old housekeeper.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's when we see the whole time, like at you as an audience, maybe you're screaming,
like,
right? You're like, turn around, dude. And then he gets freaking leashed and just dragged and put into this little, like he puts the bar between these pipes so that he can't get out.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy.
Yeah. That was one of the ones I was like, oh, dude, what the heck is going to happen?
You weren't
next?
expecting that?
Yeah, I was not expecting this at all. But
yeah. And then even after that, like he ends up getting away from there, and that's, causing the two to fight with one another. And dude, it's such a bro moment. When he's running, he runs up the stairs, and it shows that shot of him just getting clotheslined with that thing that's on his neck, right? It gets caught on one of the doors.
Dude,
or something like that.
I think the
my
guy
head's already pounding.
Grabbed it.
My head's pounding just thinking about what happens next.
Oh, dude, like so he gets clotheslined, he falls down, and then homeboy has that stone in hand and just clocks him on the head with it.
Not once.
Domes him the first time.
Dude, the second time.
Oh, the second time makes me
so bad.
Sends chills through my spine.
Because you see the body just like...
Yeah, dude. And then you see his fingers afterwards going...
Yeah, we are led to believe that he's pretty much dead.
He's dead.
But
there's no way you can survive that.
But
I mean, the blood
he slaps homeboy with it the first time and then takes a break, drinks some of this like brine, it almost looks like.
Oh, it was that same stuff they got for like calming.
Yeah.
It was like plum extract.
Yes.
Or something like that.
Yeah, he drinks all the extract.
Yeah, he goes
and like drops it and it smashes, and then we see this blood mixing with this calming extract from the plum, and it starts to intertwine with one another, and that's when we get this wide shot where he just grabs that rock again and goes,
and it shows it.
It hurls it at his head, and it shows him getting hit, and you see his body just flinch afterwards, and it feels too real.
It does.
Like I was laughing because Abe and I watched it together, and he was like, "That's something you'd see on like Best Gore."
Seriously.
I hate to say it, but that's like legit. That's something you would see.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was horrible.
Man, I literally named. So this is my last favorite scene, and I named this scene the massacre.
Yeah,
this is where that slasher aspect comes into play, man.
This comes up. He comes up the stairs, and this is the first. The second time that we get to see he's out finally out of the basement, because the first time obviously was when.
Yeah, we don't even know how long it's been since he's seen the sun.
Yeah,
like this guy, like when he gets up there, he's kind of looking at the sun, and it's just kind of like,
whoa,
man, like. This is intense,
So, if you haven't seen this movie, this is your first time, you don't know what he's gonna do. But you get to see him, and he's in the kitchen, and then just grabs this knife from the knife block, and immediately my thought was he's gonna kill Mr. Park.
I thought he was gonna go for the wife,
which makes sense. He would, and that's what he's going for. But I feel so bad because he goes and just stabs Jessica right in the
Like
on the
right next to the
heart.
heart, dude.
And then that's when everybody starts to freak out. And like you said, this is the slasher aspect.
Yeah.
Mr. Kim and Mr. Park get up to realize what the heck is happening.
Yeah. He slashes at her. I love that shot where the blood speckles on the bread and on the cake and stuff.
And then you see the little boy faints first.
Yeah,
right?
he faints because
He
he's
sees
seen
the ghost.
He's seen the ghost.
He's the ghost, man.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about that scene.
That scene is one of my favorite stills.
Yeah, he's literally all.
It's got to be one of my favorites.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
So then he faints, and the mom starts to freak out, and she like goes and picks him up and freaking out. And then the ghost, we don't know his name, he starts yelling Mrs. Kim's name.
Her fake name. He starts saying Chung Suk, I believe is what it is.
Yes, I don't want to butcher it, but starts yelling that, and she comes out of nowhere, and then I'm trying to think what happens next. 'Cause it's,
He runs at her and starts trying to slash at her, and they're
Yes,
fighting.
yes.
They're fighting with one another. Meanwhile, Jessica is bleeding out, and
Mr. Kim is
Mr. Kim is trying to hold her wound, and then Mr. Park is running after
the little boy.
to pick him up and all this stuff. And while they're fighting, the car keys are under.
He goes to toss him, and the wife like knocks him out.
Yeah, he goes to toss the car keys to Mr. Park because he's asking him like, "We got to get our kid to the hospital." So he goes to toss the car keys, and then they hit his wife, and then they fall on their backs. So now they got to go in there and break these people up, so that way they can get the car keys.
And what Mrs. Kim does,
She grabs that sausage skewer.
And she goes, "What?"
She goes, "Whoa!" in his side, and kills him.
kills him. Yeah.
And then while
I hate this part.
he's dead, he's Mr. Park is
On
going
his
up to
daughter.
going up to the guy to get the keys, and Mr. Kim is holding his daughter
Yeah.
and holding the wound, and he's watching Mr. Park do so.
Dude, I hate this.
I do too.
He straight up goes,
Up to him, like rolls him over, and then goes, "Oh," and plugs his nose and goes to pick up the car keys, and you see this look of absolute hatred, like rage, come over Mr. Kim, and he just kind of looks at him and just. All we see is a knife get picked up, and we see him just run at him and just go, "Whoa!" and he stabs Mr. Park.
I kind of think at that point I was like, you deserve that. I hate to
it
say
did
it.
feel a little
Yeah.
rewarded.
It did. No, it did.
Because the whole time he's been literally looking down on him because he's like, "Oh man, that smell."
Yeah.
Like that smell of pork.
Also,
like
the guy who was in the basement, who knows if he had to shower?
Yeah, that's
I
true.
imagine 4 years down there.
That's true. Yeah.
Like, he chose that situation, but he didn't choose the situation. If that makes
Yeah.
sense. But
I think
like
it's more or less the symbol of him being like, "Oh man, the stench of
a poor.
lower class."
Yeah.
Like that's what's crossing the line for
Mm-hmm.
him. And then it's ultimately the death of him as well, and it's kind of poetic in that way. But I remember in the theater after watching him die, and then him being like afterwards, he's kind of like shocked. He's like, "Oh man,
I did this.
I just did that.
Sprints.
What do I do now?" And he just starts to run away, and I love that sick overhead shot. And then afterwards, we're kind of like, what happens to him? Like, he just vanishes.
Yeah, we're led to believe he just runs
He
off.
disappears in thin air.
Nobody
Yeah.
could find him.
Yeah, and then we see that
Everything slows down.
Kevin survives the head injury. Unfortunately, Jessica does not. She
Yeah.
dies.
And all he can do is laugh.
Yeah, he's like, the only thing I could do was laugh until I heard all the news reports and all that stuff. And that's when we go. This is when the movie, I was like, man, this movie is so great already. This like actual ending with the Morse code and all that stuff and everything, it propelled it even higher. Like when I started, oh man, I can't like describe the feeling I got in the theater. Like when
Because you notice before the film even kind of like shows you, it's like, oh, and then it highlights on it, and you're like, dude, yeah.
Yeah, and I can't describe the feeling I got in the theater whenever we find out that like where Mr. Kim has been hiding the whole time is he went back while everyone was running out and the ambulances and police are being called. He runs back into the bunker and is now trapped there. And, you know, he only gets out to get food whenever there are people currently living in the home and all that stuff. And every night he sends out a message to anyone that's hopefully watching, hopefully his son, through Morse code, the same way that the previous guy was doing that to Morse code to Da Song, because he was like, oh man, he's a scout. You know, if anyone will be able to understand the messages, it's him.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, he types out this whole thing in Morse code, and he does it every night until Kevin can read the message and decode it. And the whole time I'm watching it, I'm like, man, this is so smart. This is on another level. Like, this is one of those things that like only like masterpieces have. Like at the end where you're kind of like,
What happens
dude,
now?
like what happens now?
Yeah.
And then it unfolds that this is what's the ending. It's on another level.
Yeah, it just keeps on giving.
Yeah, and I really love the actual ending where, you know, we get this thought of determination from Kevin, and he starts to say, you know, I'm going to go to university. I'm going to get a job where I can get enough money to buy that house. And he goes into this really heartfelt message where he says, like, you know, one day, whenever I do buy that house, Mom and I will be standing in the front yard or the yard where the sunrise is, soaking up the sun. And at that point, the only thing that you'll have to do is walk up the stairs.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like wow, that's beautiful. Like, that is really beautiful. The fact that like this guy is so determined that he is going to work as hard as he can to just so his dad can like come back out and you know, live in the house with them. Beautiful. But then that juxtaposed with, you know, that scene when they're in the gym and we get told that, you know, the dad has a plan. He's like, don't worry, I got a plan. And we realize that his plan is to not have one. And he says, this is one of my favorite quotes.
Yes, I have this quote
He
as well.
says, you know, I've always found that, you know, when I have a plan, life finds a way to ruin it. And, you know, it's best to go through life without having a plan, because then you're never disappointed.
Yep.
Gosh, it's like that Mary Jane quote from the new Spider-Man.
Yeah.
She's like, always expect disappointment, because then you'll never be disappointed.
Yeah. And yeah, he essentially says, like, you know, I live my life a quarter mile at a time.
Family. Hey, this movie hits it hard. Family, y'all.
Yeah. But he's essentially saying, like, I live my life with no plan, so that way I'm never disappointed, and that way I never see anything as wrong. And it's a sobering thing, but we understand that, you know, at the end of the film, Kevin has this plan, right?
Yeah.
And it ends the shot with him in the basement, and he is just kind of, it looks like there have been no change in circumstances, and he just kind of is looking into the camera, and he has this look of defeat. And it's then where I'm kind of like, man, that's when the reality sits in, and you're kind of like, man, there, you know, you had this plan, you had these hopes that like, I'm gonna, you know, get a job that's good enough to buy that house so that way I can reunite with my father. But in actuality, it's much easier said than done.
Yeah.
And if you aren't set up the way, you know, the Parks were, that's almost a pipe dream. Essentially the same way that the Scholar Stone was. You know, like, it's a fugazi. It's not real. It's not attainable. And that's something that is so sobering. And it's something that's very depressing to end the film on, but I appreciate that it's done. And it's one of those things where you're kind of like, man, like, that sucks.
Yeah. I didn't know how to feel about this ending, because it's so hopeful. You know, you get the whole visualization of his dream where he's got this nice business suit on. He's walking through this house like almost with reverence. You know, he's like,
He looks like a K-pop singer.
Yeah.
He does.
He's got a
He-
whole new hairstyle.
He's
all
part
that.
of BTS.
he
dude.
looks fresh. He does. And he, you know, he's buying this house. He's looking at all the emptiness, and, you know, they're out. I love how it's framed too, where we get to see the big glass windows and all the natural light coming in, and the mom looking where the little baby, the lady was buried.
Yeah.
You know, and then all we see is him come up, and then we're really far away.
Yeah.
We don't
And
get to
we
hear
just-
any dialogue, but it's just the embrace.
Yeah, we see that hug.
And I feel so good, but then I remember that quote of "Don't make plans," because plans like never work out.
Yeah.
And then obviously we realize that this is a plan and it's not going to work out.
Yeah.
And then we get that freaking shot of it just being him back in the basement.
Yeah.
And it's like the solidifying factor that it's never going to happen.
Yeah.
He's never going to make enough to get that house.
And homeboy is probably going to die in that basement. That bunker. Yeah.
That's sad.
Completely sobering ending.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, I think a beautiful ending to
Yeah.
a masterpiece of film.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right.
Yeah, that's
it.
it.
I think
the
that's it
movie.
for favorite scene, y'all.
Yeah.
Let's get into the next category, which is best quote.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I have 3, and you said one of them, so I won't mention that one. But my first one is, "Your heart never lies."
Mm.
And that's a conversation between
He does the
when he does the
pulse.
check the
Yeah.
pulse, and which is true. I mean, it's true in that sense, but it's true to us still. Your heart never lies.
Mhm.
Follow
Mhm.
your heart. As a lot of people say.
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay,
That's
I'll
why I
go.
like it.
I'll go next because we took pretty much all of mine as we were talking. First one being, wow, does Oxford have a major in document forgery? Ki Jung would be the top of her class. I was like, I love this dad.
Yeah, me too.
But my last one being, they're talking about how gullible the family is, and they go on to say, acting is one thing, but the family is so gullible, right? And then the mom says, especially the madame. And he goes, you said it, she's so naive and nice. She's rich, but she's nice. And then the mom goes, not rich, but nice because she's rich.
Yeah.
You know, heck, if I had all this money, I'd be nice too.
Yeah.
She goes with that whole
Yeah.
monologue of her like, I'd be even nicer, you know. But I think there's some truth to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the reality of that quote as well. It's so much easier to be like, oh man, you know, this A-list celebrity, they're such a nice person. You know, they're so selfless and all that stuff. But, you know, we only ever see the things that get documented and put on Instagram
Yeah.
or on YouTube, right? You know, that kind of reminds me of the same thing of like people, you know, YouTubers being like, oh, feeding the homeless. And then
And they're recording it.
And having to be like,
Yeah, I hate
here's your
that.
meal.
I
You know,
hate
like
that.
that's so degrading.
But you got to admit though, this quote is kind of saying like it's nicer, it's easier to
To be
give.
nice.
It's easier to give when you have an abundance.
yes.
Like
It
I would
is.
if I had $10,000 in my bank account and someone's asking me for a 20,
Yeah, there you go.
that equates to like $1 in my
It's-
head.
Yeah, it's so much easier to be nice when
When you have.
have the ability
Yeah.
to, you know, give freely.
It's only when you're overflowing you're able to give freely,
exactly.
which
Which isn't
is
right.
not how
but-
it should be.
It's not how it should be, and it's also not what the parks do. The parks do not give freely
That-
with their wealth.
That is
No.
true. They give it with qualifications in mind.
Exactly. And I had also seen something too in regards to like the actual layout of the house. The table that they have in their kitchen has like 10 chairs, which means that they have more than what they actually need for their family alone, a family of 4.
Oh yeah.
They could seat the other family of 4
And them.
and the people downstairs and still have an abundance.
Mm-hmm.
Like they could more than provide for these people, but they choose to hoard that and be like, oh well, you have to work for
Yeah.
what it is that you want
Yep.
and all that stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
The best quote that I'll go into is that quote from Mr. Park, and he says to Kevin, "You know what kind of plan never fails? No plan at all. You know why? Because life cannot be planned. Look around you. Did you think these people made a plan to sleep in the sports hall with you? But here we are now, sleeping together on the floor. So there's no need for a plan. You can't go wrong with no plans. We don't need to make a plan for anything. It doesn't matter what will happen next. Even if that country gets destroyed or sold out, nobody cares. Got it?
Yeah.
It's
Like kind of sad.
nihilistic.
Yeah, it
Like,
definitely is.
It's full of no hope. Like there's no reason to do anything because life will always find a way of disappointing you.
Mm.
Yeah.
You know, like it's
Almost kind of like looking down on hope.
that's nihilism to the key.
Yeah.
You know, it's crazy.
My last favorite quote is a funny one, and it's when they're fighting for the phone, or they're in that conflict, and this guy says, "Honey, this send button is like a missile launcher."
Yeah, I love her whole little like
She goes into, like,
North
yeah.
Korean TV host anchor thing, and
She starts to be like Kim Jong Un and talking
yeah,
about
she's like, we'll praise our officer Kim Jong Un for blah 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 stuff, and he's like, I love the little TV host impersonation that you do. You do it so well.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Yeah, but that was my last quote.
My last one is Jessica, only child, Illinois, Chicago. Classmate of Kim Jin-Mo. He's your cousin.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. Let's get into bro moment, which
Dude,
there are
I
a ton.
So I think I was like 15.
my first one's free extermination.
Dude, we were watching it, and I literally said, "Bruh."
Dude,
and the whole family's just going.
Yeah, they're straight up coughing, gagging.
And he's a champ, dude.
He's just
going.
I'm watching this girl fold these boxes. I'm gonna be the next person to do that. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's funny.
My next one was he finessed his way to get an interview.
Yeah,
Like,
it's another big one.
Yeah, one of my bro moments was just how gorgeous the house was.
Mm-hmm.
It was the nicest house I've ever seen.
Yeah, which is crazy too, because that whole house was built as a set, but the majority of the outside was all CGI.
CGI.
I read
And the second floor.
Yeah, it's originally just one floor of the house.
And everything in the second floor is all CGI.
Yeah, I could not tell.
Which is, you cannot tell.
You can't tell at all.
Yeah, crazy.
My next one is when the sister hits the brother on the brick on the wall.
Oh, she slams
just
his
boom.
head in. The son is like eavesdropping on a conversation that they're having at the table. He's like on the side looking at her, and she goes up behind him and goes boom, like and slams his head in the wall. He's all ow.
You didn't notice it?
I can't remember that scene.
Yeah, I remember because afterwards I was like, bro, she straight up smacked him into the wall. My next bro moment is Da Sung's self-portrait.
Yeah,
and him like feeding into their bowl of being like, oh man, yeah, he's truly he has a Basquiat-esque style. Like, I can see it. He's gonna be a great artist. It's like this kid's 6.
Yeah,
you know, like you know, it's if anyone hung it up, just be like, oh yeah, it's sentimental, not to be like, oh man, look, this
It's
guy's
a masterpiece.
It's a masterpiece.
It's gonna be it's gonna turn into an NFT.
Yeah, seriously, it's gonna sell for 5 ETH. You know, yeah.
My next one is Kevin kissing the
Dude,
girl.
yes,
yeah,
that's my next
dude,
one.
that was my next one.
Okay, so I did not. I had for some reason I didn't even think about her age.
Her being a sophomore.
A
didn't know,
sophomore in
dude.
high school.
The only reason I thought about it is because Lisa goes, "This is kind of weird."
Yeah.
How old are they? And I just
Yeah.
thought, I don't know, because I immediately correlated. Yeah, they're the same age. No.
Nope.
He's out of college. He's at least in his mid-20s.
Mid-20s,
Yeah.
at
And
least.
she's
And she's
gotta
probably
be
like 14, 15.
14 or 15.
A junior, right?
Yeah. No,
A sophomore.
That's the second year.
That's probably 14
15,
or
16. Yeah, 15, 14, 15, one of those.
It's just I didn't.
It's strange.
It's very strange.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah. And I think this is another, we'll get into it a little bit later, but that's another area where like that's not the only area of crossing the line. Like I think of, because I think the only reason that she does so is because she wants to like be, you know, spiteful to her parents, right? And what other, you know, better thing than to be like, oh, I hooked up with the tutor, you know, like that's crossing the line. But it's even worse crossing the line when we find out that the tutor is poor, you know, and like she's doing that as a way to kind of like get back at her parents. You know,
Yeah.
and even him too. Like he takes the opportunity, like that, to kiss her.
Yeah.
Like he's immediately crossing the line with his whole relationship with her too.
Yeah,
like,
that kind of recontextualizes the whole idea of like being who the parasites are.
yeah,
Because it's almost like within the family they're parasitic to each other.
yes.
Because the husband doesn't really like
The mom,
the mom,
daughter does not like her parents.
not at all, and they're all kind of like just mooching off of each other. Like it almost seems like the husband is for the wife, for like I'm assuming like sex.
Yeah,
Only because like he's
Really,
like, oh, her she sucks at housekeeping.
yeah.
she sucks at cooking.
like
Dude,
all the
she
stuff
just-
she's bad at. Like
Everything.
yeah, she's bad at all this stuff, man.
He doesn't say one nice word about her. So you
Yeah.
gotta like come to the conclusion that they're all just kind of like feeding off of each other. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? They're all each other's hosts there.
yeah,
Yeah.
Which is an interesting idea.
yeah. My next bro moment is when Jessica plants her chonies in the
Yeah.
bins.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's as soon as she even gets the idea and starts going,
She's so
starts taking her chonies off. I was like, when I first watched this, I was like, is she gonna try to like get this guy to like her or something?
Yeah, I
but
don't
she
know.
just takes him off. And then whenever we see that they go to the cafeteria afterwards, she's like, I planted a trap in the bins. I was like, Oh, dude, she's sly. Like
Yeah.
that's insane. She's on another level.
Yep.
Yeah.
My next one is when Mrs. Kim goes to Mr. Park and they're in that sauna or whatever, and she's telling him that she's gonna fire the housemaid, and straight up tells
She's
him,
like, I'm gonna make up some excuse.
yeah, and straight up says, "Have you washed your hands?"
Oh, as they're
Yeah.
he like reaches into like
Yeah, he
Make
they
a
shake
deal
hands
with her?
Yeah, and then afterwards he says, "Did you wash your hands?" And he's all,
and he goes.
it's so
I
funny.
was just like, bro, what is this?
Yeah.
So funny. My next bro moment before that is whenever mom kicks the old maid down the stairs.
True.
That's a huge bro moment when she kicks homegirl down the stairs.
That's not. No, that's this is way before.
Oh yeah, it is before. It is before.
Yeah, because this is
Excuse
how
me.
she's getting her
That's how
fired.
she
This
gets
is how
fired.
she gets
Okay.
fired.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I forgot. Excuse me.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say my next bro moment is when he never crosses the line, cinematically during his interview.
Yes.
I wanted to bring it up
You
'cause-
see the glass pane. He sits down and he's like that, and they're on a separate sides. There's a line separating them.
He almost crosses it every once
Yeah.
in a while, but the
he-
way that they frame it, he never
he
crosses it.
maintains the line.
And I love that they not only it's like how it's like a very non-tangential idea of not crossing the line, but they physically show you
Yeah.
there's glass panes that are separating them. The way they're walking, the cubicles are separating them.
Yep.
You know, the actual framing of them in the cars are separate like that, and the way that he hands him the card, he never crosses that boundary.
Yeah.
It's so genius.
Yeah, it brings an entirely new aspect of storytelling strictly through cinematography. Like, imagine being able to tell an entire story just with no story, just with like camera shots.
Yeah, and the fact is that they don't even highlight it.
Yeah,
It's just like if you have to have that in your mind and then you can see it, like it bleeds through.
Yeah, like I think of that scene immediately whenever Kevin gets introduced to the Park family. And
and she has to go.
She goes and claps. Like she's on one side of the glass, homegirl's on the other side of the glass, and she crosses that line to wake her up, and then goes back to where she needs to go. Like it's metaphorical, and the whole time you were just
One of my favorite quotes.
yeah, it's so metaphorical.
So metaphorical. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great, man. I love it.
Yeah.
My next favorite scene is when we find out that Homeboy Underground activates the lights when Mr. Park comes home, and he does the respect.
You think he always does it with his forehead?
Yeah.
No,
I don't think so.
no. I mean, he had no other option to because his hands were
Oh,
tied behind
true,
his back.
true. My bad.
You think
Imagine
he'd just be
just-
sitting there just going,
Dude, the fact that he did it so hard he was bleeding,
yeah,
that was a whole cool
Montage.
Yeah.
whole cool thing to see.
yeah.
My next one is when the mom shoves the heck out of the dog.
Oh yeah. She's like, I'd be much nicer if I was rich.
The dog goes,
I was like, bruh,
Yeah, dude.
so much for being nice.
Yeah, she's not rich. She's not gonna be nice.
yeah, doesn't have a reason to be. My next one is when the little kid goes up and smells the dad, and then goes and smells the
Yeah, and
wife,
she's like,
and
they smell the same.
they smell the same. And I was like, oh frick,
Yeah.
are they being caught up right now?
Yeah.
Nothing came of it.
Yeah, and then even afterwards, you're like, do we need to like do separate laundry? Like, do we need to use different detergent, different
Yeah.
soap?
But yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
My next one is the dad slipping and exposing themselves.
Yep,
Yeah.
big bro moment.
Huge bro moment. My last one is when Kevin goes down to give Homeboy the Scholar Stone.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Mine is when I don't even want to talk about it, but
when they're having intercourse on the couch.
Dude, they're not even having like intercourse. They're just playing with each
yeah,
other.
they're just
playing
fooling
with-
around.
Dude, I laughed so hard when he's all.
Yeah, then she goes
Clockwise.
clockwise.
I was laughing because I was like, what do you have to lick? Like,
No,
what-
literally, Isaiah and I literally said out loud, "Why he lick his fingers like that?"
it was funny, man.
Lubrication,
Dude,
man.
no, and
And the fact that they showed it and just the
Yeah.
whole uncomfortable tension because
Because the people are down here.
It's not even just
even the
random.
conversation that they're having. Because I
hate it. She's like, "Oh, sell me your drugs."
Yeah,
No, no, and then
this is the
I
thing
brought
I
it
was
up to
I was
Isaiah.
I got so pissed off in this scene because like
they're fetishizing.
Yeah, they're fetishizing like
Being poor.
I hate
and
it,
being
dude.
like, he's like, oh, go put those cheap panties on. It'll make me so hard.
And this is what
It's-
pisses me off dude, the dad knows that the underwear is the daughter's.
Exactly.
What do you mean?
Well, the
tells him
daughter
the
tells the
trap.
dad.
She
tells
tells
the
him
dad,
the
I
trap
put
that
a,
she put in the bins. She says that
And-
she put a piece of her
yes.
and
underwear
he
in
goes
there.
Yeah.
He
to
says, go
Mrs.
put on those,
Kim,
go put on those cheap
underwear.
panties.
And she's under there.
and he knows that the daughter did that.
Yeah. And the fact that like it's the dad with his son and daughter, and they're literally fooling around up there.
exactly.
You hear all of the noises. It gotta be uncomfortable.
Oh,
man.
God.
It's
Oh,
gotta
that's-
be so uncomfortable.
That's uncomfortable.
I was uncomfortable watching it.
Yeah.
Like,
And they show quite. I mean, they don't ever get nude, but like he
They're-
reaches.
they're rubbing.
They're
I
rubbing
hate
each
it because
other.
he comes out of nowhere too. Cause he's just, and then
Yeah. He's like cuddling her, and then it's all,
He just reaches in. Yeah.
okay, all right.
and
yeah.
then straight up
it's-
just
gets in there, and she's like, hey, we should do this.
Yeah.
Like, our son's out there, and he's like, he's not going to come in.
and he straight up says,
If
"I'll
we
slip
see
my
him,
hand
if
right
we see
out."
him, I'll just put my hand away.
The fact too that they, after they're all sleeping and they decide to crawl out.
Dude, the way that the dad crawls
Yeah,
out,
He
he's
looks
all-
like a cockroach, like she was describing him as, dude.
Yeah.
Slowly sliding out. And
Yeah.
then the dad or the emergency.
Yeah.
Dude, that was having my heart pounding too.
Me too. Like, I was like,
Bruh.
if he just sees his feet, like,
I
if it was me and I immediately heard that radio go off, I'm going and running out, dude. I'm not staying still. I'm not gonna get, dude. Imagine getting caught and like,
In that position
like,
too.
getting caught. You're just
He's straight up
planking,
planking on the ground.
and then getting caught and be like, who is this?
Yeah,
what are you doing?
Like, I would be like,
Straight up.
trying
Got
to
a
get up real quick. Yeah, seriously, like,
Worst position to get
exactly.
caught in. Yeah, I love the framing too, because like you just see the couch and then the little feet on the outside of it, and you're like, dude, if they just barely
Yeah,
look
dude.
left
Yeah,
out of
Crazy.
there.
That's it for me.
Yeah, me as well.
Oh wait, no, I got two more. Next page of my notes. Sorry.
God.
When the wife smells gets the whiff of Mr. Kim,
Yeah, and she
and
does
goes
that.
like this.
yeah.
I feel bad for him.
Such an insult, man.
It's just showing that it's not just the husband's a D bag.
Yeah, it's them as well.
It's just it's every
It's that rich
their
mentality.
lifestyle,
It's the
their
rich, yeah.
their class setting, right?
And then my
Smells
last one
like-
is the massacre.
yeah, the massacre.
Okay. Any other ones?
That's it for me. We talked
Okay.
about the rest of them.
I do want to talk about the ghost. The
Oh,
ghost
that
scene.
that
That is a
whole-
bro moment.
That's a big rum
Because
moment.
we find out that there's something that happened to Da Song in the first grade, but
Yeah.
we don't know what. We just get implied like, oh, something happened to him, and she's like,
How'd you
right.
know?
But then we get into detail. She's like, oh yeah, there's something happened in the first grade. He swears that there's a ghost in this house.
Dude, and that freaking scene is so genius.
Yeah, I love the way too where she's like, oh yeah, like it was before his birthday, and
Just sitting.
he comes up, he while we were all asleep, he come up and he didn't want to wait to eat his cake, and she's like, so he went over here and like the cake is like half eaten,
Yeah.
it's lit too, and then it cuts time, it goes back in time, and we see him, he's just taking handfuls of cake eating. And she's like,
Dude.
and he said like he looked over to the stairs and he saw a ghost, and that's when we see Homeboy like just his eyes,
Dude.
and he's just got this creepy look. He's just all.
There's
Like,
a show that eyes Death Wish. Is it no Death? No, nope, nope.
Death Note?
Death Note. Yes.
Oh, that like
that creature.
Ryuk,
yeah, the
How
like
you see his
the
eyes.
the Shirigami,
yeah.
right?
How you see his eyes. That's what it reminded me of.
It did. His eyes are
Yeah.
like wide, like they look like full moons right there, dude.
It's
Don't talk
scary.
about wide eyes again.
It's scary, but then we even find out that like that caused him to seize up, like it caused him to have a seizure.
Yeah.
It scared him so bad, it scarred him.
It scar me too.
Yeah,
If I'm going to the restroom and I see somebody on my stairs with just those eyes, bro, I'm
Someone's
waking
getting
you up.
fucked,
Singing.
yeah.
hell no, no.
No, I'm either gonna kick it and hope for some guts, or I'm running out the door.
Yeah,
You see that guy where he just goes and vanishes? That's me,
Just
bro.
goes,
That's me, bro. It kind of look. I was looking at it. It reminded me of something, but it reminds me of the Babadook. Like his with the way
Babadook.
the way his eyes
Yes.
Yeah,
look. It reminds me of this guy.
yeah.
Maybe
Most
that's what I, maybe
definitely
that's what I was
terrifying.
thinking of.
Okay. Yeah, most definitely. Well, that's it for bro moments. Let's get into some facts.
Yeah,
There are some good ones.
there's some good ones. I'm gonna hit you with the budget real quick. It took $11.4 million to make this. Opening weekend, only made $393,000. So it's kind of low. But for gross for U.S. and Canada, made $53.3 million.
Heck yeah.
And then gross worldwide
Even
made
more.
$263.1 million. So $250 million that it made.
Yeah.
Shout out Bong, man.
Dude,
We're a part of that
Yeah,
statistic.
we are. We are part of that.
We gave
that
him money.
That gross number. The reissue came out. Put it out.
Yeah, so it made its money and plenty more,
Yeah,
which
for
is
sure.
worth it.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
My next one, like we said, this is an Oscar nominated and winning film. This won 4 of the big categories at the Oscars, and it was a little bit controversial.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Because this movie was nominated for Best International Film, foreign film, and then it was also nominated for Best Picture.
It can't be both. Oh, it can't be both.
Yeah, and you had
Why
a lot
can't
of
it be?
Didn't you watch Joker or 1917, man?
yeah, and that
Don't exclude Little Women out of that.
Oh,
that was not
I don't think
nominated.
it wasn't up
for Best Picture, bro.
Don't knock on my movie like that.
But yeah, like it was weird because you got a ton of like almost like it felt racist, like people being like, you can't have best film also be foreign film, like it already won, blah blah blah. And it's like, so you're saying that movie
So
is,
you're saying
is
only movies made in America can be
best picture?
Best Picture? No.
like it's exactly.
Well,
like,
and
you're demeaning foreign film just because it's foreign.
yeah, and
It's
they,
not
'cause
because
they
it's a good film.
yeah, they neglect the fact that it has happened before, just with different categories.
Exactly.
You've had best animated film and best picture,
Yeah, win
and
both.
no one,
No one questions
cries
it.
about that.
Exactly.
It is only when you bring foreign film into it that they're
Yeah.
like, oh, no.
Yeah.
What was
But-
that noise, dude? Oh.
It's a
It's
bit of a
those-
shakeup, though.
It's the mouth breathers.
Drew,
Yeah.
you reminds me that magic is good.
Magic superior to Swords Elden Ring.
Yeah.
He's all,
He's breathing like it's a competition.
I don't know what y'all talking about.
It's a whole different thing. But it was a bit of a shakeup because notoriously war films like 1917 have the best chances of winning.
yeah.
But-
It's the typical choice
It is.
for the Oscars to go with like a safe pick like 1917, something that's really technical,
Yeah.
savvy, and like it's Oscar. I like to call it like Oscar bait,
Mm.
right? Like it's something that's like it's just baiting the Oscars to be like, oh, you gotta give me Best Picture. I did a whole one take film. Did you see Birdman? That won Best Picture. I did a whole one take film. You got to give me the Oscar.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. It's great.
It's a feat.
Yeah.
It's an accomplishment, and it stands on its own as an accomplishment. It's great. But when you're coming up against a film that is that is exactly so unique and so genre bending
Yeah.
and masterfully written and acted and directed like Parasite, it's anything less than Best Picture would have been.
I
a
had
slap in
no
the face.
qualms. In fact, I was praising it.
I
I was
dude,
like, let's go.
There's video of me. Alexa has video of me because I got so invested in the 2019 Oscars because
That year was
that year was packed.
Was
like
I'm gonna text her and say, "Can you send me the video?"
Dude, she has a video of me whenever Joaquin won Joker.
Oh, really?
Our battery died. Well,
That's what you get for talking about a great movie like
yeah.
this.
Well, if you're watching on YouTube, you're just gonna hear a black screen.
I'm
for a
very,
while,
very
so-
sorry.
Yeah, sorry about that, man. But, yeah, she has a video of me whenever Joaquin Phoenix won Best Actor.
Uh-huh.
I immediately was like, "Let's go!" And I freaking jumped up real quick and was like, "Let's go, man!" I wanted my boy to win that, and like I did the same thing with Parasite when Parasite won Best Picture, along with Best Directing, and Best Screenplay, and Best International Film. Like I was just like, "Dude, this is beautiful." Like,
Yeah.
this film is getting the praise that it deserves.
The
and-
recognition it deserves.
exactly, and for people to try to squander that and just say like, "Oh, it's not English." It's like
So
you're missing out.
you're missing out on the bigger picture.
exactly,
Films don't have to be in English to be film of the year.
exactly, and it just film in general does not have to be in English for it to be good.
Well, in that quote that you said earlier,
Yeah,
there's
Bong
a
Joon-
whole
there's-
new universe in cinema.
yeah,
Just
waiting to be discovered.
Yep.
The only thing you have to do is get past that 1 inch of subtitles.
Yep.
Yeah. Beautiful quote by Bong Joon Ho. My next fact that I have here is this also won the Palme d'Or at the 2019 Cannes Film Festival, which is and is also the first Korean film ever to do so.
Oh, heck yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. And it's something that's really interesting too, or that's, it's kind of predicted is, whenever you enter your film into the Cannes Film Festival, if you win the Palme d'Or, it's really like mostly projected that you will go on to win Best Picture. Like a lot of the Academy gets a lot of influence from that film festival as well as a couple others.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
You haven't said one, so go ahead.
I have seen it be talked about before, and I thought it was really funny. But the trash can that they pull that like bloody tissue out of, that costs over $2,000.
That's insane.
What?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, okay, so Bong Joon Ho chose it because it doesn't make any noise when it opens, and it opens like butter.
Yeah,
you almost expect
it
that.
It opens and closes quietly.
Yeah, you almost expect that for $2,000. But he's even on record saying, "What the f? What kind of idiot will buy a trash can that's going to smell anyway?"
Yeah, exactly. It makes no sense.
It makes no
That's
sense.
Funny.
And that's characteristic for who the parks are.
Yeah, and it only makes sense to be in a freaking
It's more
kitchen just like
expensive.
that.
It's better.
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying, man.
Exactly.
$2,300.
So in the film, we get that scene where they're sleeping in the gym. This is actually the same place where Bong Joon Ho filmed the quarantine sequence in The Host, a film that he released in 2016. He didn't realize it until it was reminded by a member of the crew, and he yelled, "OF." I'm sorry. That's what he said.
He said, "Oh, fuck."
that's
Yeah,
funny.
that's what he says, and I was just like, "Oh, now I kind of want to watch The Host to see the scene."
Yeah,
Yeah, I do too.
yeah, me too. It's a monster film, right?
It is.
Is
yeah.
it?
Yeah.
It is.
It's a monster movie.
Yep.
I would like to watch that one as
I'm
well.
friends with the monster.
All right, my next one is so at the Munich Film Festival, Bong Joon Ho was quoted by saying that he does not like screenwriting.
Really?
Yeah, he said that he doesn't like screenwriting and that makes him nervous and insufferable to his family. The idea for Parasite has existed since 2015,
Bro,
and the final script was written in 3.5 months.
that's crazy. One thing that I thought was pretty cool was this movie seems to be a lot. So I thought it would take a long time to record or shot, but this movie was only shot in 77 days. So which to me is what, 2 months and a half,
Yeah,
which is short, I would think.
yeah,
For a
most
movie.
definitely.
Yeah. I wanted to bring up the whole, we were talking about the verticality of this movie and how they go from up to down and down to up. He is on record calling this project a staircase movie while filming it because the vertical structures are a motif that runs through the entire film. That highlights the divide between the social classes like we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
But the fact that he actually like took that into account and wove that through the movie, I think was cool.
That is most definitely cool. I got another one here talking about peaches in the film. This is actually something that is pulled from Bong Joon Ho's real life. So because, peaches are brought up in the film, Bong Joon Ho revealed that while he was in college, he went on a training trip where one of his friends said that he was severely allergic to peaches.
Oh, I see.
Bong, thinking that he was kidding, or Bong thought that he was kidding, but when some other kid went to a nearby grocery store and jokingly tossed a peach at the boy, the guy turned bright red and had an attack, even though it didn't hit him directly. Bong found the fact that though peaches were pretty to look at, could be used as an attack on somebody was very cinematic.
I was gonna ask why you think he chose the peach, because normally you look at a peach and you're like,
that looks good.
That
You
looks,
look at a peach, yeah.
that looks fresh. It looks sweet and juicy,
Yeah.
But it's not like it's not something you would associate with like violence
Actually-
and.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, my little brother's allergic to peaches.
Really?
He's allergic to peaches and nectarines.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because they normally use the peach as like an innuendo,
Yeah.
but now I feel like it's becoming something that's like negative.
Bro,
You know
I
what I mean?
remember when he first ate a peach, dude. He got these highs, and it was like he was like in first grade. He ate those frozen peaches,
Yeah.
Dude, they called my mom. She's like freaking out. And I see my little brother, dude. It looks like he's a cow, but red. And I was just like, "What is happening?" Because that's our first experience to like someone having an allergic reaction.
Yeah.
So I thought it was funny, and now I know how serious it is. Because if he touches it, he just starts to have a big rash.
That's
so yeah,
crazy.
it's crazy.
Well, I guess you can say cinematically, Call Me By Your Name walked. So
Parasite could run. You won't get that. But it's true. It's so freaking true. What the heck?
All right.
All right. Well, my last fact is actually something about the flood. For the water in the poorhouse, they actually used a face mud mask to get that sewage water brownish look. They ended up using at least 10,000 pounds of face mask mud.
That's
to
crazy. That's pretty interesting too, to like use something as practical as like face mud to get a look like that.
Yeah.
That's cool. I have one here for Bong Joon Ho, and I had said this previously. He considers Parasite a tragic comedy that depicts the humor, horror, and sadness that arise when you want to live a prosperous life together, but then you run up against the reality of just how difficult that can be.
Yeah.
And there's another one here as well, which I thought this is insane. According to the editor, this movie is nominated for Best Editing. So keep that in mind. So according to the editor, Jin-Mo Yang, he edited this film in Final Cut Pro 7,
That's Apple.
an editing program that Apple stopped supporting in 2011 on a computer that hadn't been updated since 2014.
He edited on that.
He edited on Final Cut Pro 7 on a computer that hasn't been updated since 2014 and won Best Editing. He got nominated for an Oscar for Best Editing.
Yeah.
Immediately, I just think about the fan just go.
You could cook like an egg on that.
Jet engines whirling up right now.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Showing you don't need multi-million-dollar machines to
You don't
to
need
get stuff done.
The state of the art.
That's all the vision.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
I got one more.
Okay, let me go first because mine's light.
Okay.
So just like the trash can one that I told you earlier. So the dish Ramdan, name is made up, but what it's analogous to is like a really traditionally cheap dish, like very cheap. It's a few noodles and the seasonings and all that, and you eat it like cost maybe $1 to make or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But he wanted it to seem like higher class wealthy by putting that sirloin in it, and it's almost like an overabundance. They can't have just the meal.
Yeah.
They have to put
They got to be bougie.
They got to be bougie with it.
We were talking about it at dinner, and because he had mentioned that it's not a real dish.
No, it's not.
And I said, so what? Maybe Ramdan is the ramen noodles with the fixings of udon.
Yeah, it's ramdan, like ramen and udon, right?
Mhm.
That's like kind of the mashing of the terms.
That's what I was, because I was like, oh, I thought it was real, obviously.
Mm.
No, but it's just like us getting top ramen and making it. You know how cheap top ramen can
Yeah.
get.
Yeah.
So it's traditionally cheap.
33 cents a pack.
But they wanted to make it
Yeah.
Bougie.
fancy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do that next time I make ramen. I'm gonna add sirloin steak.
Get the
to-
Wagyu
Crack
A5,
an
man.
egg in it.
Oh,
all that
and
stuff.
I don't eat eggs. Sorry about that.
My last one I have here, and this was something that was revealed to me on this rewatch.
Really?
Yeah. So there's a throwaway line early in the film regarding the housekeeper eating so much.
For two. I
Yeah,
noticed that too.
Yeah, I noticed that this time, and I didn't notice that before. It's a quick little line that Mr. Park throws out.
Oh my gosh!
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he says, the
Way.
housekeeper, she eats enough for two, almost as it's one of those sly nods to the narrative surprise in this film, showing that there is the man in the basement. Bong Joon Ho had actually ended up thanking this man named Tony Raines for being the first person to mention that to him over the entire press tour from the Cannes Film Festival to the Oscars.
Wow.
I didn't get it until now.
Yeah, because they're like, oh, she's such a great housekeeper. The only thing about her, she eats like crazy. She eats for two people.
Yeah.
But really,
Whoa. But really, she's big brain and she's feeding her man.
Exactly.
she's eating her man.
Exactly.
Sorry, I said it like that.
No, it's true. No, it's true. It really is.
Yeah.
That's pretty genius, man.
Yeah. That was something that I didn't even think about that until I rewatched, and I heard him say that. He's like, "Yeah, she almost eats for two." I was like, she does. Like she truly like that makes so much sense. Like,
Yeah, it makes
it's one
a
of those,
lot more
it's,
sense
It's a
now.
sly little like, oh yeah, like it's no one will pay attention to that.
Yeah.
And when you watch it again, you're like, oh man, like it's there the whole time. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love it. It's great.
Yeah,
Okay.
She does. I'm thinking about scenes because there's scenes where she has 2 plates and it's the same food.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, what? Kind of went over my head real quick.
I said I'm thinking about scenes and there's one scene where she's walking out of the kitchen with 2 plates and it's the same food.
Oh.
So now it makes sense.
Oh, I see.
Nice. All right, any
Pretty
other
genius.
facts for you guys?
That's it for
That's
me.
it for me as well.
All right. Let's get into what didn't work.
Do we just go what did work? Because I don't know.
Crickets.
Crickets for me, man. Whoa, okay, hold on.
Oh,
Okay.
How could it win Best Picture and Best International?
I slept the entire time. No. I did want to bring up. It's not that it didn't work for me, but this is the only place I can fit this in. I was watching the movie in my living room while Lisa was doing her cheesecake stuff. I decided to watch it in there, and was working flawlessly fine. Did a little bit of that stuttering. And one of the funniest scenes about it was, when she was doing that, swinging that shot put ball, the hammer ball. Dude, that was one of the scenes where it sped it up. So she was going. And I was dying laughing. But we transitioned to go and watch it in my room, and when I had turned it on, the subtitles that were on were Spanish, and I was sitting there and I was hearing Korean and reading in Spanish, and I was like, "What the?" I was so lost.
Hulu gotta
Step up their
fix
game.
it, man.
Who's jacked up?
Come on, man. How you gonna do that to our boy Bong?
That's what I'm saying. I was just dying. I was like, "What the heck is happening here?"
Yeah,
But yeah, that's
it's
it.
time for you to learn Spanish.
that's fine.
I know.
Well, let's get into what did work then.
Okay.
I think this movie is highly recommendable and anybody can watch it.
Mm.
And I don't say that a lot about movies a lot. But I think everybody needs to watch this and should watch this because this is a cinematic masterpiece. And I'm saying that now.
Yeah.
This is a masterpiece. And it's rewatchable. I think I'm watching this show, The Ultimatum. And this just, I'm going to be Madeline real quick. And this is
Check off
checks
all the
every
box.
box on the freaking thing of the list. And I can gush about this movie all day long.
Yeah, I think I can.
I
I could gag on this movie all day.
I know what you mean, Amy. You don't gotta
the
explain.
banana. The movie's a banana.
That's funny. Yeah, the movie's the banana that homeboy was eating down there.
It's so good you don't even bite it. You just go,
You grapefruit it, bro.
dude.
No.
Oh, man.
So a thing that does work for me, I'll agree with you, Abe, in the fact that like I can gush about this movie, especially with someone that's watched
Oh
it.
yeah.
Like I can just sit there and just be like, oh, dude, but this part, you remember this part? Oh, I love that. Yeah, I can sit there and gush over it all day too. Something that really does work for me is the concept of crossing the line.
Mm-hmm.
And I really like that it's brought up in such an interesting way to show exactly how the Park family would much rather not acknowledge the Kim family's existence. And I like that, Mr. Park is very obsessed with this idea of not crossing the line and that the hired help, they should only do what they need to do and not make their existence known to them after they've performed their duties. That concept to me is very interesting, and it's something that I've never really thought about until this film, and I got kind of obsessed with it whenever I finished it and I watched it for the first time, and I was like, what does that like mean to cross the line? What does he mean? And I think I've broken it down into like not only that, like, crossing that line between like work life and personal life, but also like exactly what I said, like acknowledging someone's existence other than just they work for me. Like how many times did we see like, after they've performed their duties, he's kind of like, okay, like go do your thing. Don't care anymore. Like you've done your service and that's it. That's all you are to me is a service.
This is what you can provide.
Exactly. And it's only in those questions whenever, Mr. Kim starts to get a little personal. It's like, oh, do you love your wife? And all this stuff. Like we start to see like, he's like, I'm going to back off from that question. I'm not going to answer truthfully. Yeah. Or, I'm going to answer truthfully, but it's going to sound kind of rude. It's this notion that like, oh, I don't have to answer to you or anything like that because of my status or because of my success. And it's a very interesting concept that I really enjoy Bong Joon Ho exploring with this film.
For sure. Yeah. I think one of the ways he does explore that is through just set design.
Oh yeah,
Set design has to be a big factor of that.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
I believe this movie even got nominated for set
I
design.
think
It did.
it
And
did.
well, I remember hearing an interview saying that he was really happy for that because everything is built.
Yeah.
Everything is built. Like they were doing. There's a. I can't remember what it was, but on YouTube they break down the introduction scene, and it's him and the son, and they're talking about you know how when you look out and you see that dude peeing, all of that is real up until a certain point, and then it's VFX.
Yeah.
But that hole is just absolutely filled with detail and with like the culture. Like it feels like it's genuinely real. Like they're in a street.
Yeah, most definitely.
Which is I love the set design so much.
Yeah, it goes to show just the attention to detail, along with like I'll go into another thing that does work for me, the writing and the pacing in this movie, like along with the set design, the attention to detail in the way that this story is told, is absolutely insane. Like It's just when you think that, all ends have been wrapped up and everything looks nice and pretty, a new twist gets added.
Mm-hmm.
And it brings so much more meaning to things that, we thought were previously done. Like the whole use of the bunker at the end of the movie, whenever he gets out, you're like, oh man, that's the end of the bunker. But then it gets brought back in and we realize, oh man, now Mr. Kim is down there. Like there's so many things about this that it just prove that this movie is a masterpiece in writing, in directing, in acting, in every way possible. And I also really love the blurring of genre in this movie, and the fact that the writing in this is so good that it is able to break all the genre barriers and just be a Bong Joon Ho film.
Mm-hmm.
And anyone can go into this movie and be like, man, I don't know what I'm gonna get, because this movie is just everything. And it's great at what it does.
Yeah, it's completely unpredictable, and the fact that he was able to create, I like to think of it as like two insanely compelling movies, the first half and the second half, and then weaving them together in such an intuitive way that you're just like captivated the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
Because not only is the story great, the acting is great, the action is great, everything is working to the benefit of the movie.
Yeah,
and I love it. I also feel like he had like the thematic ideas and then built the movie around it. So the thematic ideas are like permeating through every scene of the movie, man.
Yes.
It's not just like an afterthought. Mm-hmm. It's like the core focus of the film.
Yeah, and then building the movie around those ideas.
And they're interesting ideas to begin with, and they're very relatable ideas, which is why I think it works so well.
Yeah. I kind of like to think of it like visually as like you said, like that, the core themes and elements of this movie being like the core of like a Jawbreaker, right?
And
then everything that is built around that core is the film, and you have to get down and digest all of those layers and everything like that to get down to the core of what that issue or what that theme or element was.
Yeah,
it's beautiful in the way that he does it.
Incredibly rewarding too.
Yeah, like my boy Shrek. Layers to the onion.
Like an onion.
Like an onion. One thing that I really do appreciate is when the scenes got intense or they got less intense. I don't know how to say
calm or
when it got calm,
more relaxed.
Yes, the music that would play for each scene was very fitting.
Yeah,
for it.
Like I love the Belt of Truth playing.
Yes,
whenever the peach scene is happening, and it's just this orchestral.
Yeah, and you even mentioned it, how you're like this song is called The Belt of Truth, and I was like, this is really good, and then I just noticed it more often.
Oh man,
and I just appreciated it.
It reminded me of. I think the fact is that Bong Joon Ho wrote the lyrics for the ending song, and I'm going to butcher it, but the title of the song, it was going to be like 525 years or something like that.
564 years.
Some crazy long amount of time, but they try to calculate it out on how long he would have to work and save his money to be able to buy that house.
Yeah.
So it's cool that they're like interweaving not only like all the things we've talked about, but also like just the titles of the songs themselves.
Yeah.
Such detail.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
I love it. I also have to say, in addition to the attention to detail, not only in writing, set design, acting, direction, like even we said before, the cinematography and the framing of certain shots and everything, like everything in this movie just culminates in this one big piece of just like meaning. Like everything in this movie has meaning. You are shown things that will mean something later in the film. There's nothing that gets brought up that you just don't forget about or that never gets addressed again. Like this movie just, man, I can't like put in the words like to how much it means. Like even with the cinematography, like certain shots were kind of like, man, like even with just the camera alone, like you were able to tell its own story.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, writing along with acting. I loved every single actor on this screen. So compelling.
They killed their roles.
Absolutely killed it.
100% they did.
I was interested in all of them. Every single one of them, I was like, oh, what's the backstory here? What's going to happen to him? And I felt incredibly broken for some of the fates of them. Like, you would think with this many characters, you'd feel not as connected to at least one of them.
Yeah.
But all of them, I thought, had perfect building of their motives, of who they were, just enough to where I could actually like identify them as people, you know, rather than just plot devices.
Yeah.
They actually were all people, which I think is really impressive.
Yeah, most definitely. Anything else you guys have for what did work?
I don't think so. I think we hit them all. It's just, like I said, I recommend this movie to everybody. I think so. Even if it's a foreign film, and if you don't think you can handle foreign films, watch it. Like, get over that little barrier of the 1 inch on your screen. Like that shouldn't hold you back because this movie is a cinematical masterpiece.
Yeah. I would say lastly too, I think this movie is highly rewatchable.
Oh yeah, just with 100%.
Just with everything that's brought to the table, like it calls for rewatches upon rewatches. And it's one of those movies where I would be more than happy with rewatching it a ton and being like, man, I just can't get over how, masterful this movie is. Like it's truly Bong Joon Ho showing us like he's just flexing. Like he's flexing his chops and is like, I got this down and I can do it, But that's it for what did work for you guys. Who wins this movie then?
I put Mr. Kim.
Yeah, Song Kang-ho is the actor that plays Mr. Kim. He also wins the movie for me.
I agree. The fact that he's in a majority of Bong Joon-ho's films too, I love.
Yeah.
I always see him and I'm like, dude, I love you.
Yeah.
I recognize you.
And I think I see him in like trailers or movies and I'm like, oh, I gotta watch it because I know who you are and I know you're good.
Yeah.
For sure. That's it.
The only thing that disappoints me about this one is there's not enough drop kicks.
Just going
Whereas with Memories of Murder, there was more than enough drop
Plenty
kicks.
of those.
True.
All right. If that's it for who wins the movie, what are some themes here?
I wrote one down, but I don't know if it's a good one. What?
No, I'm it's just the way you said it. I wrote one down.
Just the countryside of me
It
coming out.
sounded like it. That was funny.
I said wealth isn't everything. Just live your own life. I don't know if that's a good one.
That kind of plays into one that I wrote down as well as just the idolization of wealth and status.
Yeah. I literally put wealth obscures everything.
Yeah. The other
Money
one
is the root of all evil.
Yeah, the other one that I had written down here, I think hits on a bit more of like the socioeconomic themes that happen in this film, and just the fact that economic disparity usually always leads to the disconnect between and ignorance toward other classes. And like being the Park family choosing to be willfully ignorant towards struggles of people who are lower class than them, and like not even believing that tuberculosis is still a thing. Like stuff that just doesn't bother them because to them
it doesn't affect them.
Money is no object. They have no reason to worry. They can do anything. And whereas people like the Kims, they have to worry about that stuff.
Yeah.
That was really it.
It's almost like they're choosing to distance themselves from the lower class.
Exactly. Which
I think is fitting for them. One of the things I wanted to talk about is just the whole idea of like, I don't know how to say it in like a thematic way, but it's like the idea that like there's not really a villain here.
Oh yeah, no, everyone is trash.
Everybody is trash.
Everyone in this movie is scummy.
Is an antagonist.
They're scummy.
Yeah, they're scummy, right? And I love that he does that because, like, I think of The Host when you have your villain character as of a monster, and it's a really easy solution to being like, okay, you either take the monster out or the grimmer effect of killing it, right? Well, but with the situation like this, the solution is not as easy as just saying like, oh, it's easy to take it out or to take it away. You know what I mean? This is more like systematic. It's more like ingrained in society.
Yeah.
So it only makes sense for the villain to be as complex as the solution would be, right?
Yeah.
So I really like that they didn't make them like over characteristically like wealthy and goofy with it. And they also didn't make like the Kim family like extremely nice and all that stuff. Like there's a balance there between the good and the bad of them both, and you can't specifically say, oh, the Parks are bad because they're rich and they don't give enough. You kind of can, but you can also be like, well, they're getting taken advantage of by the Kims. Like they're doing horrible things too.
Yeah.
And even the other family in the basement, like they're just suckling them dry. You know what I mean? There's not a clear, definite answer or solution to the villain.
Yeah.
Which I enjoyed. I think it fits the film perfectly.
Yeah, most definitely.
Heck yeah.
All right. If that's it for the themes, what are we rating this bad boy?
Easily, I'm gonna give it a 10.
I gave it an 11.
I have to give it a 10 as well.
Yeah, so a 10.
It's on all fronts an amazing movie, and
Yeah.
I feel like giving it anything less than a 10 would be a crime.
Yeah.
Just with the amount of experience I've had with it, there's no way it's less than a 10.
Yeah, it's like we said, like the word masterpiece in movies and entertainment gets thrown around a lot. This is one of those movies where when this word gets thrown at that, it sticks.
Yeah,
that description sticks to this film, and I will stand by that.
Yep.
There's very few movies that we can say, or at least in my experience, can say that those are truly masterpieces of art and of cinema.
Oh, for sure.
There's a couple that I have.
This one stands that test.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's about it.
That's it, man.
All right. So thank you guys for sticking all the way to the end of the episode. Sorry for our camera dying on us, but
Can't see our beautiful faces.
yeah, exactly. If you could see what we're doing very obscene gestures. You can't see it. I'm just joking. Throwing up the set. What's up?
Yeah.
No.
We're from 55th Street.
Yeah. But
I'm a great.
we apologize. We'll have to get another
Yeah.
battery or something like that to keep charged on hand or something. But
Or maybe just eventually just a live audience, just have you guys there.
yeah, true. Try to stream.
Dude, imagine.
That'd be crazy.
That would be wild.
But yeah, again, we appreciate you guys listening and just sticking all the way to the end of the episodes.
a little
and
bit
letting us
longer.
know. Yeah, letting us know exactly what you guys are thinking about the episodes, and being hyped about them as well with us. And it's something is especially with a movie like this, it's hard to unpack something in such a small amount of time.
Yeah.
So if the episode is longer, be grateful, man. You got more content.
More content.
More
That's what I'm
content. That's what you
saying.
wanted, right?
That's what I'm saying.
So
I would way more rather pick a 10-hour video on YouTube and just listen to it my entire day at work rather than 5 minutes, 1 minute. Yeah, I can't do that.
yeah.
I love, long form content is my thing.
Yeah, I agree. Podcasts that I listen to, I would much rather when I'm a big fan of the H3 podcast.
Yeah.
When I see sometimes that they go 3 hours on the episode, I'm like, dude, let's go. We're eating good over here.
That's what I'm saying.
We're eating good.
But yeah. So we love that you guys are again continuing to listen and just showing the support and all that stuff. We just recently made a TikTok.
Yeah.
account,
Yeah.
and we posted one video, and that video already has like almost 500 views,
That's what I'm talking about.
which is crazy. It's we're gonna be posting more over there, so hopefully more y'all come in and listen. But
Yeah.
again, we appreciate you guys. Leave us a like, leave us a rate and review, subscribe to the channel on YouTube. Turn the bell notifications on so that way you're notified whenever the video uploads and you're first on the scene. To show us the likes, show us the views, comments, all that stuff. It really is appreciated and lets us know that you guys are liking what we're doing.
Yeah.
It also lets us know if you guys, if you want us to change something up.
Mhm.
We're always open to criticism, and we want to make this the best that we possibly can with what we've got. So again, rate and reviews, all that stuff, it helps. But I guess with that being said,
It's your pick, Isaiah.
it is my pick.
What you got for us?
We're going to be throwing it back a little bit.
Oh, I like that.
So we've done a lot of movies, I feel, that, have been current, right?
Definitely.
And that's good.
So we're doing
You
The Sound of Music.
No, we're not doing The Sound of Music. We are going to be doing a movie that I know you guys haven't seen, and I've only seen this once, and I'd like to revisit it. It is called Taxi Driver.
Okay.
This is a Martin Scorsese film. It came out in 1976, and it is starring Robert De Niro and I believe Jodie Foster, excuse me. And it's a great movie. I believe it's sort of had almost a little bit of a resurgence with Joker coming out in 2019.
Yeah, in our Joker episode, you've kind of mentioned a little bit about Taxi Driver, so I'm really excited to view it.
Yeah, I'm really excited to rewatch this because one thing I love specifically about Taxi Driver is the score. The score to this film is beautiful, and I love a lot of the voiceover and monologues that come from our character Travis Bickle, and just the sheer outcast that Travis is in this film is it's really good, and it's tangible, and I really enjoyed this film. So I'm excited for you guys to watch it for the first time and then to talk about it later on.
Okay.
So,
All right.
we're going to be watching Taxi Driver. It is streaming on Netflix, I believe. It has been for a while. So go check it out.
It's not the 2004 film with Queen Latifah.
No, and
Dude,
Jimmy
that
Fallon.
movie, dude, no, don't knock on that movie. Taxi is a good movie. I don't care what anybody says. I love that movie, Taxi, with Queen Latifah and Jimmy Fallon.
We'll put it to the test.
I'll
See
come
if
back.
it's-
Yeah,
see
I'll
if
come.
it stands up to like Parasite or something.
No, it doesn't stand up to Parasite. You guys are gonna knock on this movie so much. I used to love watching. Actually, I think this is the first film I actually watched the whole thing with my dad, and we laughed so much.
Wow.
Taxi.
Queen
I think
Latifah,
I think the only thing I remember is I think there's a part where they accidentally get high.
dude, they should get
They get high
yeah,
on-
they on nitrogen.
Yeah, and
Oh my
and Jimmy Fallon's
gosh.
walking around. He's like,
It's so funny, dude.
Isn't there one scene too where they're trying to escape the cops and then they rip off their paint?
Yeah,
of
yeah,
their
yeah,
car?
yeah.
I remember thinking that was so sick. I was like, "Oh, they're never gonna get caught, man."
yeah.
I remember that.
That movie. One of my favorite songs is "This Will Be" by Natalie Cole.
Oh, okay.
Do you know what it is?
No.
No.
This will be
Oh.
an everlasting.
Yeah. That's
Heck yeah,
iconic, man.
Heck yeah.
Okay.
That's where I got that song from.
Okay. Nice.
But yeah,
So don't-
Taxi Driver.
Taxi
Yes.
Driver is
Much
what we're
different
watching.
from Taxi.
Very
Yes.
different.
We're gonna be watching that. So tune in next week to hear our thoughts about what we think about Taxi Driver. As always, this has been the Film Bros Podcast. Thank you and good night.
Good night.
Good night.